Come on.
The list.
Oh yeah,
Before we start.
list before I start. Hey guys, I'm Elvin. Welcome back to another Laser Quest podcast.
It's called PodQuest right now.
PodQuest.
PodQuest. Pretty good name, man.
Yeah. It's a fantastic name.
It's not bad.
Okay, listen. So it's called PodQuest for now. It's like work in progress title.
Mhm.
If you guys have any suggestions and you wanna, you have a stroke of genius, you wanna call it something else, we're French, so like please hit us up with it because that's all we got so far. So, my, this is gonna be a good one. I'm Elvin. I'm with my co-host here,
Dark-Fenix.
and we have a very, very special guest here. The Truth, Excalibur, Mr. Adam Redmond. Here you go.
Before we start, I want to thank you all for listening and tuning in. And with all the feedbacks, we're really happy. We're going to keep on doing this weekly or bi-weekly as much as we can. So we're really happy that everyone tuned in and gave us feedback, good or bad. Appreciative. First of all, we changed the camera, as you guys can see, to get a better feed off it. And then we'll keep on working on progress, right?
Yeah, definitely. The goal is to try and get as many Laser Quest personalities to come on the show and pick their brain about anything. Just shoot the shit about Laser Quest. Just talk about this sport and this passion that we all share and we've all had for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And who better to start it with than probably the best player to ever play the game ever. Of course, we're going to be biased because we're from the North.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's known to be humble. And
Times, right?
Yeah, very humble person.
I don't know if I've ever been called that in my life, but
God.
I appreciate that, Alex. Thanks.
So yeah, we'll get your opinion, obviously, on who's the best player of Laser Quest of all time. And I think I might know the answer, but see what happens. So here's how we're gonna shoot this off. What I like to do is I like to talk about your history as a player.
Okay.
Of course, we've been following your Laser Quest career, and there's a lot of things that we might know, we might not know. So I'm really curious to pick your brain and see what's gonna happen. So start off. So how did you get into Laser Quest? How did you?
Yeah, so I started playing Laser Quest in 1995. Yeah, no kidding, right? So I was I was 10, probably just turned 11. It was March break, so it was spring break from school. My mom had actually gone to Italy with her sister. Which left me and my dad home, and it was March break, so he had to find something to do with me. So he came up with a bunch of plans. We did go-karting, mini golf, all of that type of stuff. And we went to Laser Quest, and basically, I think it was on the second or third day, and then we basically spent every day, from that point forward at Laser Quest.
Going back.
My dad told me later that we actually spent more money at Laser Quest than my mom spent in Italy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So to put that into perspective, so that's how I got started. I started off playing. With my dad when I was young, and it was something that the two of us did together.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome because it was something that really brought us together. Growing up, my dad always worked 2 jobs so that we could have nice things, but I didn't really get close to him, I guess, because he wasn't around all that much. He was always working until we found Laser Quest at that point. So that really, really brought me and my father together.
Your dad's played tournaments before.
Yeah. So the first,
I didn't know that.
My dad played
Tar Heel.
Tar Heel.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah, so he played the first NAC in 1997.
Oh, Jesus.
Not the first NAC. Sorry, his first NAC was in 1997. So if we take it back further, so 1995, my dad actually qualified to play on the A team.
Oh wow.
When we first started playing, my dad was obviously better than me. I was a kid. I made the B team. But neither one of us went because I was playing baseball at that time, and that's when our playoffs and postseason and stuff like that was. So I made the team in 95 and 96, but I didn't play my first NAC until 1997.
So that was the Brampton Generals? Was that it? The teams from Brampton?
There was Brampton Generals and Brampton Wildfire. I can't remember which one was the A team and which one was the B team.
Who were playing on those teams that currently?
Back then, Corwin would have played in Carnage. That guy, maybe you've heard of him. Maybe. He would have played in 95 or 96. I'm not sure which team he would have been on. I don't know if you guys remember Style. Style from
very much
Mississauga and stuff like that.
He's hilarious.
He was the best player in Brampton probably in 95, 96.
Right.
But back then it was Brampton, Brampton, and everyone was separated for NAC, Brampton, Toronto East, and.
So there were no teams that came out of Mississauga. Oshawa, London. The first NAC was really small. I think there was only 6 or 7 teams, and then in '96 it went up to 10. I think Mesa and some of and maybe Denver. Some teams came up from far away. It was 97 where it really exploded, and they had like 22, 23 teams.
The good old times, right?
Right, yeah. 97 was kind of like the first year where it was really, a big turnout. Other than that, it was basically, in 95 and 96, it was basically like Oshawa versus Brampton.
Yeah.
So how'd you get on the team? Was there like a tryout?
Yeah, so there were tryouts. Well, tryouts were based on members' nights back then. So it was
all-nighters and stuff like that.
No, it was just straight members' nights. So we had 2 members' nights a month in Brampton because we had such a good members base back then.
Yeah.
And you would essentially at the end of the month, the top 2 players got the first 2 spots on the team.
And then
every so on, it would go down from there. So I think my dad in 95 made the team in like 7th or 8th. I was like 14th or 15th. Like I was way down on the B team. And then in 96, I think it was like 6th or 7th. And then it was the same thing in 97.
And did you stop afterwards?
No. So from 97 on, I played every NAC from 1997.
But your dad?
He did, yeah. I mean, my dad was, my dad was a fair bit older at that point, and he was never into it to really be competitive. He was just, I think
it was just a more passionate son.
And he had fun with it. And he was a lot of years for us in Brampton. He was until probably in 98, 99. I think he was our alternate.
Well, you were young, right?
Yeah,
he went on his son, right?
He went with me until I was like 16,
sense,
which was fair. But he would also help us out. He would practice a little bit.
Drive you guys around.
He was the alternate. So in the event that somebody got injured or whatever,
he could play.
We could play, and he was good enough that he wouldn't get
destroyed. He wouldn't get his time.
Right.
Makes sense.
So when does BBC happen?
BBC happened, I think, in 1996 was like the first year that we started.
This early,
we started calling ourselves the BBC, which, for those of you that don't know, stands for Brampton Brew Crew.
And who was the original?
I think it was. I feel like the original, like the members of
when you guys formed BBC, you guys have to have.
So the person that really started it was like one of the good players that we had in like the 95, 96 thing was we had Corwin, obviously. We had Style, who was good. We had Spotlight, was kind of like our other those were our 3 best players, and Spotlight was like a big beer guy and like a big partying guy and
which
stuff
made
like that. So hence the Brew Crew thing, because like these guys would show up to tournaments, and it was they were, a lot of the guys were there to really just have a good time and drink and stuff like that.
Definitely.
And when it became something that people had to watch for, that the players were good enough to be
you can talk about it. I think in 95 and 96 they finished second both years. 97 we had a really good team. We got disqualified in 1997 from NACs. Yeah, so we got thrown out of NACs.
Why?
What
happened?
So we merged with Oshawa. So we had the best players from Brampton and the best players from Oshawa on the 1997 team. There was always some conflict between
where you live, where you play, and stuff like that.
There was more back then. There was conflict between the Oshawa Center and like the corporate
because of their franchising and so on. I guess.
So one of the players, Lamb Chop, needed to get a pack changed in one of the games, and the way that he tells the story is he was walking back to the airlock. His pack was still active, and people were like following him and tagging him over and over again. So he unplugged the laser,
which made him disqualified,
so that he wouldn't get tagged, like wouldn't be giving up tags to people. The head marshal, who was David.
Yeah.
Fucking guy.
I'm not gonna comment on this.
You don't have to. I don't know if you know him or not, but like fuck that.
With that reaction, I think he does.
Yeah, I'm sure. But so anyway, so he basically then claimed that Lamb Chop was trying to switch the HHE or the laser onto his new pack, which makes no sense.
No, it
doesn't give you an edge or anything like
not
that.
Not at all. So anyway, and then so he like 30 seconds went by, and he basically, like, when the game was over, and he makes, instead of talking anyway, he just makes this giant announcement over the PA system that the Brampton team has been disqualified from the tournament. That was how I found out we got disqualified.
Over the PA system.
And over the PA system, and our guys went fucking.
Were you guys halfway through the tournament? Were you guys in playoff?
It was weird back then because it was like you only played 3 prelim games, and this was the 3rd prelim game. We won the first one really significantly.
Okay.
The second one, I think we got second, and I think we would have made playoffs. Like we would have. I mean, you had the best players from Brampton, the best players from Oshawa. Like were on our team at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We were a good team. I don't know if we would have won,
but it was a decent team enough.
It was a good enough team that it was that we were pissed off about the whole situation.
It
got the whole thing was it was disheartening. It was very disheartening.
Corporate controls a lot, right? So at that time, it was they're saying against whoever's saying.
Well, and I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they didn't have the captains meetings. They didn't have the NAC committee that they built later. stuff.
It's really new for them.
Yeah, it was.
was.
And it was one guy's opinion, and obviously for whatever reason, he felt like that was the decision that he wanted to make. So
it happened to happen, right? We move on from it, and
yeah. So I mean, I think Brampton has been, you could say good for, or was good for quite some time. We fell off kind of in like 98. 98, we weren't very good. 99, we won regionals.
In London, right?
Yes,
that was my first regional.
Was it? Yeah. So we won regionals in 1999. The North wasn't particularly good at that time. Like it was pretty clear the West and the South.
Madison, I think third place.
Yeah.
Or Clinton Township.
Something
went
like
third
that,
place.
yeah.
It was like the first year participating.
Yeah. So we, I don't think we were good, and we started becoming like contenders. So probably about 2002.
Okay.
That's probably when Brampton became something that people worried about or were considered a good team.
When did it fall apart?
Brampton?
Hang on. We're going to cover this.
Right.
We're going to get there.
Sorry.
So following the chronology, to me, because I became a manager in like 2004,
for
me, like the side tournament, like golden years were from like 2000 to 2005 or so. When we had like pretty much like a side tournament like every month if you wanted to attend.
Probably more.
More. It was absolutely insane. So there's a few teams that I want to pick your brain on.
Sure.
Because it seemed to me that like, especially in the North, every single tournament that I would attend will be you guys versus a Westland team versus a Rochester team in finals.
Yep, for sure.
You remember like so during that period, how active were you like in side tournaments?
I was pretty active. There was a point in time probably for me, like ironically 2002, 2003, I wasn't playing a lot. I played, I didn't play a lot of side tournaments. I would play like the local stuff, but prior to that I was pretty active. Like I was at the majority of these tournaments.
Like VDM.
I went to I think
Also.
one VDM.
Okay.
Two VDMs. One VDM. I played with like the Phoenix guys.
Yep.
Which was pretty cool because that was when they were like really
At
good.
the top.
Yeah.
You were already stacking like
Man,
like
those guys, back in like
fantastic.
98, 99, like Nate and Taylor were ridiculous.
Hocus Pocus would come out like
Hocus Pocus and 007.
average rank like 1 every single tournament.
Well, he didn't do that. I think that's only been done once.
Is it really? Is it really?
Yes. Well, at a tournament, I mean at NACs.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Who did it?
I wonder.
It's very humble. Definitely. Oh man, I have very very fond memories actually of playing like you guys and like Westland.
Yeah.
And it sucked because like as a Montreal perspective, we would go to the tournament and like finals was basically like locked. We were locked out of finals. It was your 3 centers and we'd get like 4th place every single freaking tournament.
Yeah. I mean, it was those were good days. I mean, Westland and Rochester, those guys had really good. Well, Rochester had a good team provided it was like their top 5.
Yeah.
So they had like Ninja Gaspacho, Prophet, DDR, and Kyle, obviously.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, there was they went off a cliff.
But they could hang it.
But so if it was like a 5-man or less, they were great. Whereas Westland had a ton of depth.
They could send any 5 players, right?
Right.
And
I think that was Westland's strength. I mean, obviously Andy at some point emerged as Westland's best player.
Yeah, definitely.
But they had, Exodus was good, Force was good, Monoxide was good for a time.
Yeah.
Like they had Hutch and Jerk at points and stuff like that. So they had a lot of guys that, were quite good. So yeah, I remember those, those side tournaments. And the thing was, I think when you start talking like 2000, 2001, that was really prior to everybody really starting to stack. Like you would stack for VDM, like the big side tournaments. But
it was like homegrown, most
right? Like when I went to I played the Michigan 3-man like Baron Spotlight, and then I played like I would play like the Michigan 5-man, and it would be like we would do it. It was like homegrown teams, and then you would really only stack for like those. It
was a bragging rights, right? Back in the day,
it
was more like because originals and all you want to practice for originals for NAC as a homegrown. More than nowadays, there's less centers, less.
Yeah, I think back then too, there was almost like less friendship, if that makes sense, because not everybody knew everybody yet.
True,
so
it
was more divided, right? West was west, east was east, north, and so on. We made it to the NEC. If you didn't make it to NEC by regionals, you weren't going playing against those players, right? So
and like the internet wasn't so prolific. Like you didn't have, it wasn't as easy to communicate. I mean, back then the only way you were communicating was like that alt.sport.lasertag.
It was a cesspool.
You could post, but you didn't have that. You couldn't have like now you've got Messenger, you've got like all of these things where it's way easier to keep in contact with people. Back then,
definitely,
I don't think people had the relationships really aside from their home centers. Really.
Also, I think with as we become older, we become more mature. So way back in the days, I was less inclined to make friendships, and
You're
more
right.
like
You're right.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, right?
Yeah,
So you're like,
Stick with your buddies, and
True.
That's it, right?
So then chronologically, we enter the Ronan quest.
Yeah.
Like those.
Yeah.
That's
I have a
kind
good
of
story about this one.
Yeah?
Actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's ever been told.
we have a scoop, guys.
But this is a good one. This is a good one. So, go ahead. If you want to introduce the
So Ronan quest era
while I
for
drink some more beer here.
cheers, guys.
Cheers. I'm the only guy drinking.
So I was less active the Ronan quest era, but basically it was a span of maybe 2 years where Ronan from Downers Grove teamed up with Marine and basically went on the tear and won every single freaking tournament that there was.
Yeah,
it was absolutely insane. So this guy is probably like in my top 5 in his prime. Like prime Ronan was an absolute monster.
I wouldn't dispute that.
And we had what was more impressive is we had shoulder quests.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude's short, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not like a Lincoln player. He's not like 7'5" or something like that. So that was like actually
he had that
very impressive.
His lead. His lead was
just being
couldn't tag him.
Well, the thing was he perfected. It was like the fact that he was left-handed was important because when people would come into like reach on him, he would go to the front.
Yeah.
So he was really good at tagging the front on the way in. So yeah, Ronan was fucking nasty.
So what's your story?
Yep.
I'm
That's what we're all waiting for.
Yeah. So obviously Ronan had been on this tear. It was like Ronan, Marine, Darkstorm. They played a lot of like Action, Voltage, Blue Man. I think Kyle was in there a few times, but mainly it was like those 3 guys from Chicago. I think they'd won like fucking everything. And this was probably about 2005, I want to say. Maybe 2004. And I was actually at that time, I still am, but I was pretty close with Nick Lollipop.
Yep.
So we were talking, and he was talking about how much he hates, because if you've ever met Nick, you think I have an ego. But so he was talking about how much he hates, seeing those guys win all the time and stuff like that. And I was like, so we should hook up and do something, and let's see if we can stop them.
So
I don't believe you.
So anyway, long story short, they'd won a whole bunch of tournaments. They came up to Winter Slam in Toronto East, and they had Ronan, Marine, Darkstorm. I think it was Blue Man, and might have been like Action, Voltage, Kyle. One of those was the 5th on the team, and it was
a stack team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like we saw that team, and Nick's like, all right. He's like, I'm down. I'm gonna come up. Let's play. He's like, put together, a team that can beat them. So we got like myself, obviously Nick. We had Blair, so Decoy.
Yep.
We had Cougar from Appleton.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Probably, I think I said it at some point in time, but like Cougar is by far the most underrated
player.
Yeah.
There's thread about it and so on. Yeah.
That guy, like I have him, like I posted that big like top 50 list, and I think I had him like 12th or something like that. Like that guy is so good, such a good teammate. We'll do whatever. And then I actually don't remember who our 5th player was. It could have been Corwin. It could have been Spam. It could have been Phil, like Agent, Reborn. Anyway, so long story short, we played those guys and we beat them in the finals. And we were trying to play it all cool and stuff like that. And then we got back into my car when the fucking tournament was over, and like everyone just went nuts. Like it was like a fucking celebration.
Really?
Yeah, in my car in the parking lot in LQ.
Because that's how you guys wanted, right?
Right, but it was like we were trying to play it cool. Like it wasn't like, and then like so I don't think anybody knows that, but that's one of those stories where it was like, and it happened all at the same time. It was me, Nick, Sean, like in my car.
Yeah.
And the 3 of us like kind of all looked at each other and were like, yeah.
This is interesting because by then you've won a shitload of tournaments already, right?
Yeah.
And like, that this one means so much to you.
That's how Ronan was so good.
He was
so good.
He was insane.
It was those pride of winning, right?
It was those 3 too together.
Yeah,
the 3 like individually, like they were great players, but individually I don't think they were. It was something about the way the 3 of them meshed together.
Okay.
Chemistry and
chemistry and like playing their roles and all that. They were just so incredibly dominant, so incredibly dominant. So it was for them to lose. Was I don't know if that was the first time that they'd lost, but it was they definitely did lose a lot. For them to lose at that point in time was
definitely like an upset.
I'd say and I mean you look at our team.
It's not so much an upset.
We just won an NAC. Like we had 3 or 4 of us. We had Lollipop on the team, who was like probably one of the best players in the world at that time. So it was they were still probably favored to beat us. That's how dominant and good they were back then. Yeah.
So you've played a 2-man with Ronan, right?
I did.
Okay, and this was in Europe?
Yeah, we played in Swindon.
Oh, right. Okay, in England?
Swindon, England.
If I remember correctly, you guys did not win, right? And it was an upset? Okay, so
we did not win.
I have to say this, and any European player that is watching, I love you guys very, very much, but every single time we go to Europe, yeah, we have a hard time winning, we'll put it this way. And sometimes for reasons that are not super related to tag.
Not WLC though.
Not to skill. No, WLC, yeah. So what's your story? What happened in at the tournament?
How we didn't win?
Yes.
Because we definitely should have.
Okay.
What were the good teams to start off that were there?
Trixie was playing with, I think, Rami, who at that time was like the other really good English player.
Yeah.
There were a couple of French teams that were there. There really wasn't a ton of
any other North American teams though?
No.
It was only you guys too?
Literally John and I. And the reason that we went over was because the owner of Swindon LQ put prize money on the line.
Okay.
So it was
which made it interesting.
It made it. We basically figured that if we won, which we were expecting to, it covered our costs, and that was essentially it.
Place had
money. It basically covered. So the money we ended up getting second, obviously.
Right.
So it basically covered our hotels and our food and stuff like that. So it was the cost of the flight to get there. Still, it was a great time. Like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. But really early on in the tournament, it became pretty clear that us and there was a French team that had like Emile and Roots or something like that on it. Were the two best teams of the tournament.
Toulouse, right? I think it was they're from Toulouse in French. Yeah. They're from,
they come over to play the WLC in Mississauga.
Yeah,
they were pretty good players.
They're from a team that's called Sorry Team that actually won everything in France for like 2 years. They did a Ronan basically in France for 2 years.
Okay. So so we got into finals, and they do finals differently over there. There's like 8 games or something like that.
What the hell?
So like the top 8 teams make finals.
Okay.
And then you basically like rotate through the 8 pack sets.
Oh, interesting.
So it was pretty clear to us that we had to beat them, and it was pretty clear to them that they had to beat us.
Yes.
So we went into the last game, and like the point differential was minimal. I think we were up by like 50 or 60 points.
Okay.
And the French defeated?
No. So they were coming. So what ended up happening was we weren't even paying attention to like the 3rd place team, which was like some fucking local Swindon team of like children, essentially, that just knew the maze really well and like knew the packs and stuff like that. And us and the French ended up just like going at each other so hard that we left the 2 kids from Swindon were just picking up all of these points, and they ended up beating us by like 50 points or something.
Which happens in a lot of tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Teams get together, and then there's another rating that comes in, and
these guys were like, I'm telling you, like the skill, like there's never been such a skill gap at like a tournament. There were like, I felt like there were 3 or 4 teams there that could like play, and then everyone else, it was like, this was before I think Europe, aside from England and obviously some of the French guys.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of like local members and stuff like that at the tournament, so the skill gap was gigantic. So we were not focused on really anything but like those French guys. So we're fucking like going to war with these French guys, and these children are just like
they're picking up
shooting us in the back. And so we lost because
especially of an 8-man team, right? If a double quest, triple quest, was so different, right? Because there were so many people in the maze,
right? Yeah, so it was like finals had 6. It was hard to keep track. Keep track of that stuff. So anyway, so we ended up getting second. I think the French got third. But it was a big upset. Like I was
definitely.
I was surprised because I think at that time too, like this was probably 04, 05. Like Ronan and I were both pretty
in the prime.
Yeah, we were both pretty dominant at that time too. So that was.
Those 2 kids must have a great story to tell when they.
I have no idea who
the hell are you guys?
Of course we won. We win every Friday night game.
Like that haven't played since,
Wow.
Oh my god.
So that was that was a good experience though, going overseas to play. That was pretty cool.
So now I want to talk about a tournament that you did win, and I think that probably means a lot to you. And I was very lucky to be there marshalling, actually.
Nice.
Talk to me about NEC 2004.
I'd love to hear. I want to hear the Marshal's perspective on this. What you remember of it at some point in time too. So let's cycle back to that.
Sure.
What do you want to know about 2004?
Man, everything. That was your first NEC victory, right?
It was.
Right? How do you feel?
Who were in finals?
It was us, Houston, and NRH.
Yes.
Was the finals.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was the cool thing about 2004. This is probably like my favorite memory in laser tag. Obviously, you always remember your first. They say. We at this time, like, okay, so this was the thing that I think about 2004 is 2004 was like a pivotal year where it went from the old days to kind of like the new days.
Very
So it
much
was like
so.
you had Denver was there. Denver was still good. Phoenix was there. Phoenix was still good.
Yeah.
Houston was there. Houston was good. Hoffman was starting to emerge as a decent team. Appleton was there. Like Westland was there. Like all of the good teams were at NAC in 2004 in like they were in a strong capacity.
So it wasn't like a catwalk.
No,
you really played.
Not at all.
To give credit to people that won NAC 2004 with you, who was on the team?
Our team was, so you had myself, Corwin, Blair, the holy trinity there.
Yep.
We had agents, so Reborn. So Phil was
killed it. That tournament.
Phil was a monster, man.
Yeah.
Phil was criminally underrated
Very
player
much
as
so.
well.
Yep.
We would have had Unknown, Richard. That's 5. We would have had Spam and White Boy would be like 6, 7.
Yeah. And then Cliff and Jamie.
Cliff and Jamie would have been, kind of our bottom pack players.
Nice.
That was our 8, 9, and then Robin Frostbite was our alternate.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the team. A lot of stuff happened that year that to me was pretty fucking cool. So we decided at that point in time, I credit us for, maybe rightly or wrongly, but I credit us for kind of changing the way that the game of laser tag is played.
Oh, definitely.
Because prior to that point, up until 2003, it was like, all right, let's go to the tower and let's just fucking
control it.
Duke it out of the tower.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing pictures of Phoenix with this big map and people's faces stuck on it and stuff like
I
that.
saw the
Should
picture.
play and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
on. Yeah.
Right. So we were sitting there thinking, and we were in the hotel room on like the Thursday night or something like that. And I think it was Spam was basically like, yo guys, the ramps are going to be really important in this tournament. They have good vantage points, into the towers and stuff like that. So, and we hadn't really given it any thought. We were basically just like, okay, we're going to go to the tower. Who likes playing where? And then Phil, actually, if you knew Phil, this would have been shocking. But he's like, yo, why are we going to the tower? Why don't we just go to the ramps?
Are you fucking telling me that Phil
came up with
changed the game of laser quest?
I'm not, no joke. No joke.
If you know him,
joke.
that's hilarious.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it was Phil, and he was basically like, so why are we going to the tower then? And we all kind of looked at each other, and he's like, no, seriously. He's like, why are we putting our bad packs in the tower to give them points?
So it was a full maze?
It was full maze.
Yes.
Yeah, it was often what we decided to do, and we didn't bring the strategy until semis or whatever when we played Phoenix. Phoenix was the first team that kind of
you knew that their strategy was
they're going to go to the tower.
They're
going to go to the tower.
Why reveal it until we need to, right?
So what we did was we were like, all right, if you want to go to the tower, that's cool. We're going to send our 4 best players, on our 4 best packs to the tower, and that that's fine. And we're going to mop up, and then we're going to put our 5th and 6th packs, more or less like on the ramps. And then we really kind of hid our 7th, 8th, and 9th packs, right? It was kind of a double quest strategy that got adapted into triple quest. And then what ended up happening, our theory was they were going to realize there weren't as many points in the tower, and players were going to start filtering out to the floor. So we knew that if we were set up on the ramps, we were going to be able to tag them a couple times on the way.
As they're going down.
A couple times down. Then our bad packs that were hiding up in the other towers, we're going to shoot them. They were going to chase up. Our bad packs were going to go down. So long story short, they were like running in circles while we were positioned to be able to pick up all these tags on them with our bottom end guys.
Really good strategy.
Yeah, so we would filter out of the tower. So it was basically like, so the first one to leave the tower would be Phil. And then Phil would go to like White Boy's ramp, and he would hold that ramp. And then White Boy would go down onto the floor and chase the guys that were already kind of like on tilt because they couldn't find points.
They're starting to
and now
change
you're being,
strategy.
now
right?
you're being forced to play, White Boy one-on-one.
He was the hardest
Yes, he absolutely was. On the floor one-on-one, and then eventually it would filter out until it was just me kind of like left in the tower, and then I would be the last one to come down once the tower had essentially cleared. And people didn't know what to do. People had never had never seen or heard of this strategy or anything like that. It came from Philip Paprakis.
Nice.
Which is
it's hilarious.
I know, for anybody who knows Phil. The dude, he knew his tag. He was
he was a good
criminally underrated. So that was the strategy that we implemented back in 2004.
So from my perspective as a marshal, that's very much what it looked like. So first of all, I marshaled every single game at that NEC.
Right,
I was supposed to get breaks, and I was like, fuck off, I'm going to miss the game.
You want to see it, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. It was an amazing experience to view it. I was super jealous the entire time because I wanted to play, right? I wanted to get into the action.
For sure.
But yeah, so I was basically marshaling in that one spot in the tower for the entire prelims. I did not move. I did not take one step. And then when we got to semis, I was like, what the fuck are they doing? Where are they going? And then all of a sudden, I have to go on the floor and I have to chase people and be like, what the hell is going on?
Marshall the right
And same
way,
thing for the finals.
Yeah.
So that's very much in line with
That
what
was
you're saying.
So that was
Well,
it.
coming
hell's
out of the
going
semis, Phoenix didn't talk about it so people knew what happened. So I mean, like,
No, so what it looked like to me, Marshall in the finals, NRH and Houston were shell shocked. They were like,
They were.
what's going on?
Yeah.
Like frustrated. You can tell they were getting desperate.
yeah.
And they were losing those one-on-one matches. They were just like scattered.
Well, that was the thing is we knew in Brampton, we were like, if you worked in Brampton,
man. Yeah.
So like the packs were terrible in Brampton.
Yes.
The maze was terrible in
Yes.
Brampton. So your maze and your packs kind of create the environment that you're going to play in.
Yep.
So we became playing in Brampton. Our team became really strong at dogfighting because you were playing in these tight quarters on these packs that were up forever because they didn't go down because
you wanted to get that tag into you.
So we got really strong at dogfighting. So we knew if we spread the game outside of the tower and forced people to play us one-on-one, that was our biggest
advantage.
I'm not saying we thought that we were going to win, but we knew it was possible if all of the stars aligned. There's a funny story about that too. I remember Lazarus,
Yes.
rest in peace, obviously, to
Yeah.
Chad. I love that guy. But
Really
for sure. He came up to the Michigan 5-man, which was in like August or something like that, just before NACs. And we won the Michigan 5-man with myself, Corwin, Blair, Phil, and insert a random fifth. It was probably unknown or something at that time. And I remember him going back and basically going on LQ Arena or Alt.Sport, the news group or whatever, and basically saying like Brampton's going to win NACs.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not even going to be close. Brampton's going to win NACs. They're so much ahead of everybody else right now.
I think as a marshal, I remember I'm marshalling the tower, and then I think like there's Ocus, there's 007, and there's Laz. And then like agent is like Phil is working all three of them.
For sure.
Taking them on.
For sure.
You show up and agent goes like, fuck off. I'm like, I got this. I'm making too much points. I'm like, yeah, they got this. They got this.
Nice.
Phoenix actually that year gave us the biggest run for our money. We actually only beat them, I think, by like 60 points. And then, we went into the NAC finals and it was
you guys crushed it.
It was a massive.
Yeah, over 1,000, right?
I think it was like 1,600. It was a huge margin. Don't quote me on that, like stat nerds. Like that could be wrong, but that's my recollection of it. The thing that made us in 2004, the difference for us was like, I don't know if you remember, but they had that mixed set. And I don't know if it was the mixed set or the red set, but there was one set that won like 4 games all tournament.
Yeah, it was really terrible.
We won 3 of the times when we had that set. So we had really perfected the strategy of playing bad packs at that point in time.
Right.
So that was like the big difference. So when we went into the first game against NRH in Houston in the finals, I think NRH won the first game. Yeah, NRH probably won the first game. And then we went on to the bad set. And we lost by like 60 points or something like that. And then we were going on to the third game. We had that set that was like, astronomical. And I remember coming out of that game and like walking into the lobby and the whole lobby was like chanting BBC and stuff like that. Because people hated NRH at that point.
Oh, yes.
Because that was the first year they were new. They played a different way.
Yes.
Which everybody thought was cheating, which wasn't. It was just a different, style.
Approach. Everyone hates you, right? And
especially when they're
beating, when you lose.
Like they knocked off Denver. Denver just won 3 NACs in a row, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody was like on the back of, okay, let's cheer for Brampton or whatever.
It's always like that.
Yeah, I remember walking out of the airlock, and the first person that I saw was Ryan Kyle, and he's like, I don't know if you guys won, and I just laughed. I was like, I'm like, we got this. I'm like, you weren't in there, and I'm like, I guess we got like a Denver download or something, probably because we weren't getting tagged. Right. But like we came out and it was like 1 through 8 or something like that, and there's a picture somewhere of us like celebrating. And it's like me, Corwin, and Spam.
Yeah, I remember seeing that picture.
And you get the look. If you look at the people in the around
the back, and
everybody's got like their eyes wide open, or their mouths wide open. Because I was like,
I have that picture somewhere. It's on an LQ Zoo.
Yeah, that's the one.
We'll post it in the link.
Yeah,
you guys can see it in the link.
So that was, that was the. I knew there was one point in time where I was standing in the tower of that third game, and there wasn't really anybody left. I think I was probably playing like somebody from NRH and somebody from Houston, like, and that was really about it. And I remember I tagged both of them, and I looked down, and you could just see a sea of our packs up and everything else down.
And that's very much what it looks
like.
like.
I'm up here with the good packs,
and our backpacks are
controlling
still
that,
up.
and our
you know?
backpacks
Yeah,
are
yeah.
massacring the floor right now. I'm like,
There's
it's
games
over. I
that
was
you
like,
feel
it's
it, right?
over.
There's
It's
games
over.
that you
I
know
knew-
about it, and
I knew 3 minutes into that game we'd won NACs.
So obviously you're with two players that have never won an ACs before. We got 8th place wins. How does it feel? You come out of that last game. How does it
That's
feel?
good, man. It's good. It's like, it's you put so much work into it and stuff like that, and people talk about how laser tag is just laser tag. But I think to anybody who's played or anybody who's put that level of commitment into it, it's more than that. It's
especially at that time, right?
For
NAC
sure.
nowadays,
For
so
sure.
on, so on. Denver's still a big thing,
Mhm.
but I mean, at that time, like you said, everyone was in the prime. It was the goal to win NAC, right?
Yeah.
Bragging rights, so on
100%.
for years. We'll always remember winners from NAC, right?
For sure.
So
for sure.
it was a good time to win.
It felt like for us, it felt like almost, and I I was playing with the same guys that I pretty much started playing with for the most part in like '97, and it felt like everything was kind of worth it at that point.
There's also this element that you like you said, you've been playing with the same guys over and over. It's not as rewarding to get carried, to go and stack.
Yep.
Like you're with your brothers, right?
Yeah, and the thing that was great about it for like us in 2004 was like we did it as a team. Everybody, there obviously we had guys that scored more points and stuff like that, but everybody had a role.
Right.
And whether you were playing first pack or last pack, we all performed and we all felt like
everyone contributed.
Yeah, like I remember like Cliff. Cliff was at that point in time. Cliff was our bad pack player.
Yes,
he was playing 9th pack, and he would take pride in not giving up points to other teams.
He was doing miracles.
So he would take pride in that as much as I would take pride in winning a game because that was his job. That was his role. So we
got bottom beats the other bottoms makes the whole difference, right?
Yeah, we had complete buy-in.
All right, so it
was a good time.
Yeah, definitely. So you're with Brampton. You play NAC with Brampton for a few years, and then eventually you switched to Toronto East.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
I switched to Toronto East.
Sums it up, huh, guys?
Yeah. There was obviously more to it than that. So we went to NACs in 2007.
Yep. You guys had a good team too.
We should have won.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not taking anything away from
Houston, who
did win it that year. They were great. They deserved to win. They were the better team that weekend. But nobody will ever convince me that we shouldn't have won that NAC.
That team was ridiculous.
Our team just that year completely fell apart. And I was upset because that was the first time that I kind of like stepped up and was like the captain of the team.
Okay.
Because we lost in 2005 to NRH. 2006 we got we were in the consolation again. So I was kind of like, okay, somebody needs to take the reins of this and get it back on back on course or whatever. And then we just anything that could possibly go wrong that weekend, just went wrong.
Right.
There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of drama on the team and stuff.
So did you guys lose in finals?
No, God, we yes, we did.
Yeah,
we lost to Houston in finals, but it wasn't close.
Who was that third team? Hoffman? Is that it?
Probably.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't Hoffman or I think it was Hoffman.
Yeah.
I think it was Hoffman. So I had actually moved at that point in time, so I wasn't living in Brampton anymore. I was living in Toronto, and then that was the same year that they brought in this whole.
Where you live, where you play.
You have to play at the center that's closest to you. So there's I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this story, but anyway, so I lived closer to Brampton still than Toronto East. But because I was living in the West End, and Toronto East is obviously in the East End. And I was literally 2 kilometers or like a mile closer to the Brampton Center than I was the Toronto East Center. So technically, I was supposed to still play for Brampton.
Did Brampton have a team?
They did. Yeah, there was
Conan was running it. No, it was TO East, right?
Fuck yeah. Yeah. So so long story short, Brampton had their tryouts one weekend. Justin had talked to me and basically said, like, listen, hey, why don't you come play in Toronto East? You're living in Toronto now. It's the time. And I think he was on our team in 2007, so he knew about some of the bullshit and stuff that I went through. So he was like, come and play. We've got me. We've got Stu. It's you. That's like a good 3 to start off, and then we can develop these new players, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever. I kind of went back and forth on it, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And then like the tryouts happened in Brampton, and I didn't go because I was like, okay, I'm going to play in Toronto East.
Was the drama there?
Where?
And Brampton, because you didn't show up. Yeah. Probably the best player, right? Losing their best player might have been,
That whole year there was a lot of drama.
Okay.
So I ended up deciding that I wanted to play for Toronto East. I go to the tryouts. Obviously I make the team.
Did you?
But it's the skin of my teeth.
Yeah.
And then I actually got a call a couple of weeks or days after tryouts from like Jeff Thurwell, right? Who was like the NAC, the guy that was running NAC. And he's like, so you're not going to be able to play NACs this year. Essentially, was like the call, right? So I was like, well, what do you mean?
Why?
And he's like, well, you live closer to Brampton than you do Toronto East. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know where I live? Like, you know,
but they were really strict on that.
Yeah, but like, I was like, I hadn't changed my address over, or so I was like, how do you know that? And he's like, is that true, or do you live closer to Toronto East? So I was honest with him. You know, I knew Jeff on not a personal level, but sort of on a personal level. I was like, yeah, I'm like Jeff. I'm like, I gave him my address. I'm like, I'm literally 1 kilometer closer, or 2 kilometers closer to Brampton than I am Toronto East. So he's like, okay. You know, we started talking about it, and I'm like, look, I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, if I'm not allowed to play in Toronto East, the team's going to fold.
Right.
I'm like, Brampton's still going to have a team. Brampton doesn't need me. You know, Toronto East, if you want to have, you know, another team at NACs, let me play in Toronto East. So we talked back and forth for probably about like 15, 20 minutes. You know, and I talked about how, you know, how long I'd been playing. And, you know, I was like, kind of, can you make like one exception?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not saying like I want to go and play for, you know, Phoenix, like, you know, or like Houston or something like that.
Right, so at this point, you've worked for Laser Quest too. So you're part of the organization. You're family.
But I wasn't working there anymore at that time.
Yeah.
But I had worked for him. So, and that was how I knew Jeff, you know, a little bit better, obviously, was from that type of stuff. So anyway, eventually after like 15, 20 minutes, he was basically like, okay, you know, you can play for Toronto East. He's like, just do me a favor and don't tell anybody.
Right.
Technically, you're supposed to be playing for Brampton.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that came from. I don't know how they found out all that stuff. I don't know who tried to stop me from playing, but you know, that ended up happening. So I switched to Toronto East, and then from that point on, to me, it was like I was personally upset. Because I was like, these are guys that I used to play with, and you know, I knew I was like, you know, they're trying to stop me from playing in another center. So my sole goal that year, because our team in Toronto East in 2008,
it was fantastic.
It was garbage. It was, you know, we had Scorpion, who had never played a tournament. We had Stupid. We had you know, we had Lumpy. We had Tom, who had also never played, who ended up becoming really good. But at that point in time wasn't good. You know, Echo, nobody thought Echo was any good at that point in time. Like all of these guys. Right.
He's terrible.
But you know, at that point in time, it was like Adams, you know, everyone was talking about it was Adam, Stu, and Justin. And that was it beyond that. So my whole goal, you know, up until that point in time was I wanted to beat Brampton at East Regionals.
It gives you any time that there's something like that, it gives you the extra mile to go into. Like,
I think you've accomplished that goal that year.
Yeah, so we won East Regionals, which was I don't know how we did that. But I credit it to a lot of hard work. Like those guys, you know, and you can ask them about it, but they, you know, a lot of them say that, you know, for the first time they felt like they had a chance and they felt like they had, you know, people that believed in them. And like, I put those guys through like practices were like a fucking war, man. Like I've never been such a dick in my life. Like if somebody gave up for 30 seconds, I was all over them.
Well, that's what they needed, right? The push, the dedication, something to guide them, right? They had the potential. Like Tom became really good. Echo became really good.
For sure.
Stupid became really good. It needed someone to put them in quarters to make them.
You know, so that was kind of the thing. And then I was like, they were like all like, oh well, we want to go and practice with Brampton. And I was like, we're not playing a single game with Brampton until we get to
element of surprise
level where you can.
And it was. I mean, like there was a personal element to it where I didn't want to go and see those guys at that point in time. But it was also we wouldn't have beat them. Like there's we would have shown up and they would have crushed us. And it would have demoralized everybody and stuff like that. So I didn't want them to think I wanted them to just believe we could win. So then we ended up winning East Regionals. Lord knows how, man.
And then been on the phone.
Yeah, it's Echo calling actually.
And then damn.
I'm not even making it up.
And then what happened at NEC this year? Like that year?
Yeah, so
it's my favorite year, I think.
2008. That was oh boy. Okay, so 2008. What do you want to know before? Because this is obviously
where'd you place?
We finished third. We finished third.
Some finals, right?
And who did you beat in semis?
We beat Houston.
So basically, you have bragging rights over Lollipop. Those guys.
I have infinity bragging rights over those guys. Because that team again, that was another. That team was just they were. I don't know how I look back on it and I'm just like,
How
I
the
have
fuck
no
does that
idea.
Just the names of those teams.
Yeah.
Are scary,
Yeah.
Like
man.
if you
It's
look at that
insane.
roster, it's just like I'm like literally, but like I don't know if anybody has the stats, but you could probably look. I guarantee you, Justin, Stu, and I were
1
like
through 3 every
one.
game.
We're one through. We're all three of us had to be in the top 5 every single game, or we
Wow.
lost every game. Like it was, it was insane. Yeah. So. Yeah, we ended up getting third. We lost to Lincoln. We actually beat Lincoln, which is in the prelims. Which I have no idea how we beat anyone. Like that team was so bad.
Yeah. I think Lincoln at that point, when you beat them, are undefeated for something like
they hadn't
games,
lost. They
right?
hadn't lost enough.
Wow.
Like, I think we talk about that later.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get to Lincoln. Yeah, and obviously there was some controversy in the finals,
Right.
So.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was the end of Triple Quest. So there was a misconception out there that we bootlegged the final to NRH.
Okay.
But at the same time, it came with the strategy, right? If you wanted to do it, in my opinion, in Triple Quest, that's how you play.
So what ended up happening was there was an altercation in the first game where Lincoln was one of the Lincoln players was. Essentially almost like threw Justin down a ramp, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
Like Justin came out, his arm was all.
I remember hearing
So
that.
I was, I viewed myself as like the leader of that team and stuff like that. I was really, really fucking pissed.
Yes.
And Justin's a guy that obviously I consider to be like a brother.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Definitely.
it's one thing if you beat the shit out of somebody like in a laser
In
tag
tag,
standpoint, but when
and
you put
physically
your
and so on.
hands on
Yeah,
like one of my friends, I was fucking like I was livid. Like I actually had to be, and I don't pretend to be like tough or anything like that. Like the Lincoln guys would have kicked my ass, but like I was trying to like go at them in the lobby.
Right.
Because
Emotions,
I was that mad.
everything kicks in.
So we basically, and then so obviously we went in and we were obviously more, at that point more skewed towards we wanted to beat Lincoln. We wanted to beat Lincoln, and I truly felt like at that point in time, out of the two teams, Lincoln was the weaker. I thought NRH was better
because you beat them in prelims, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we were like, we have a chance to beat Lincoln. So, and then I don't know. I can't speak for other players that were in there. I mean, there are people that I respect, like Nick and Ramiro. Obviously, are two guys that I really like. I really love. They said watching on the cameras that my team was doing some shady shit and stuff like that. And basically like giving points to NRH. I can't speak to that. I know I didn't do it. But the accusation is out there. I can see where it came from based on how heated things were.
Right.
But I think after that, they decided that they wanted to be done with Triple Quest. They wanted to take that third team element out of it.
Which, to be fair, Triple Quest is asking for trouble.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
No, going to two teams was 100% the right thing.
Right.
100%.
Because if you're the better team, Double Quest is what shows that you're a better team one-on-one. Right?
It just takes that X factor out of it.
Yeah.
It just takes that, that
running around or this and that. And
it's team versus. There's no other sport where 3 teams play against each other.
True,
it just didn't make sense.
No, not at all.
And I mean, I know why they did it. They did it for involvement and
Well, there were more teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, so go faster and so on. It made more sense for them. But then Double Quest was the way to go.
Well, and I think I'm going to sound like an idiot here for a second, but like, did they know NACs was 3 teams and then 2 teams in playoffs, right? Is that what they did? That's what they did, right?
So it was always 3 teams, and
3 teams in prelims, and then once you got to, and then it dropped to Double Quest, right?
No, 3 teams, Triple Quest up until that very year.
Yeah,
right?
no. But then afterwards, what I'm saying is they kept 3 teams in the
still
prelims.
kept,
Okay.
100% right.
But then once you got to the playoffs, it was head.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Sound like an idiot here. I should know that. But
No.
You should know this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
it's just when you played so many tournaments, like and so many NACs, they all kind of
Mix
bleed together, except for specific. Like obviously, I remember specific things, but like. I'm sure that we'll get to at some point in time. Yeah, we do. I can see it on the agenda there. But the years with Toronto East and NRH, I couldn't tell you what happened in 2008 or what happened in 2000.
Which player?
I can tell you the results, but that because it all just bleeds into one thing.
So before we actually get to that, I really want to talk about Lincoln because I've never seen them play. Like I don't think I've ever played anybody from Lincoln.
Yeah.
But from what I heard from like those years when they were dominant, like you just die. There was nothing you can do against them.
All retired now.
I think Pretender and Infestor still play. So let me preface this by saying that I think Pretender and Infestor are 2 of like the greatest players
of all time.
to ever play. Those guys.
I don't remember playing them, so
they're really good, man. Pretender was great at everything, and Infestor was like one of the best scorers to ever play.
I think Pretender was like a really cool guy too, like a class act, right?
Pretender, Pretender
yeah.
was great. So I mean, listen. At the end of the day, like it's people get competitive, right?
Right.
So it's like I don't take anything that happened in LQ or anything that people said in LQ like really all that personally. Talking about Lincoln's dominance, I have a slightly different view on it. Maybe because I beat them with a terrible team in Toronto East, and stuff like that. And then I also will say, the year that they won and they were super dominant was 2006, which if you go back and look at the rosters of teams that were at all of these tournaments, that was by far the worst NAC. Like NRH
least competitive, right?
NRH wasn't good. Phoenix was gone. Denver was gone. We didn't have Corwin because he was getting married that year. Like there were all kinds of teams. Like, so they were dominant that year, but it was also the weakest
they've been
the weakest NAC that there had ever been. I don't think Houston was good. Like, I think, if I remember correct, I don't even think Houston had all of their play. Like, it was really like the weakest NAC ever. They steamrolled everybody in their defense.
But that was kind of a line.
The thing that I didn't like was I don't know if I can't remember if they even came back in 2007. And if they did, they didn't make finals, right? So to me, the big issue that I took with that was I was like, I didn't like the fact that they never came back and
after losing.
They're like, yeah, we're dominant, we won NAC, and then they never came back and defended it. They did come back in 2008, obviously, but I know in 2007 they weren't there. So from a dominant standpoint, they were certainly dominant in 2006. They were a really good team, right? They were. There's no denying it.
Interesting. Okay. So then we enter the era of infamous Toronto East team and NRH. Just trading in, like nobody else has a chance, right? Afterwards, it's always NRH and Toronto just trading trading NACs. How was that for you?
It was good. Those were good years. That was we had quite a rivalry. I don't know how else to describe it with NRH and Toronto East. Like, there was a competitive rivalry. I think the one thing that was always pretty cool about that, save obviously a couple people because some people are just never going to get along and stuff like that. But for the most part, there was a really mutual respect between us, the players in Toronto East, and the players in NRH. I think it just happened from the fact that you would spend every practice when we would show up and we would play. The only team that we were focused on was NRH.
Pretty much.
Like, I wasn't worried about playing Appleton or Montreal.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was like you would focus. So it was like we were focused solely on beating them, and I'm sure it was the same thing.
Well, in any sports, it's like that, right? You have an objective of a team that you want to beat, and you know that they're good, right? You're not gonna aim for a team that
I guess
I guess
the closest third team would be Mesa.
Like, Mesa was so Mesa. Good. Poor Mesa, man. They ran into us, I think, 4 years in a row in semis, and we beat them every year. And then 1 year they were really close. really close to beating us. But Mesa was a good team at that time. Hoffman was good at that time too. But Mesa was definitely, at that point in time, Mesa was the third best. And Mesa had got Chad was playing for them. They've got Tezu was there. Fish was there.
Old school players.
And Scatman, like, they had a real, on top of Blaze and Scooby, and who were great players. They had a really good team there. So those years were great. I mean, Federal Way obviously emerged at some point in time.
True. Fresno
was pretty good. Federal Way was also very underrated. Like, one of the
Dar. Holy shit, Dar. He's good.
Yeah, Dar was
fantastic.
Dar was, and Atticus. Like, for the
love
of God, nobody gives that guy love. He is. I watched him play marshalling at WLCs, and I was like, holy shit, he's good. Yeah. So those guys had some good ones. But the battle between NRH and Toronto East was something that those games were
pretty epic.
I mean,
it spiced everything, especially like LK Arena. Looking at you guys go back and forth from the outside, right? This is really interesting to see how that everyone watches a TV show, watches sport for rivalries, right? That's what we want to see. We want to see which team wins and which year they win, and so on, right? That's what you build up for. This is what you want to wait for, right? Which made it so interesting for us to see from the outside of the prospect of how this team did better this year, and then seeing how you guys are talking about it and so on. It was really, really fun.
Yeah, the cool thing about that rivalry was it was very competitive. So, there's some interesting stats that I could share with you guys, but we'll probably do it because I like talking shit.
This is where it gets spicy.
the NRH team, they know that like I love those guys. Like there's a mutual respect there. Their strategies were smart. They did the right things. Like I'll give you like an example. 2009. So we played against NRH in the finals of 2009.
Yep.
We had Conan on our team.
Yes.
So you can go back and look at the stats, but Conan averaged 59 points in 2 games in finals.
Oh,
Blair, who's like the stats and like the math guy, did the math on it and was like, literally, if we had benched Conan and taken a 20% deduction, we would have beat them.
Yes.
Like that's how bad
so many points.
But it was a smart strategy. You find NRH found the weak point and they just drilled on it, right? And that it was. It was.
It must have been a fun ride back home, man.
I didn't realize it was that bad. I mean, I knew he was getting his ass kicked, and we knew that we had to protect him and stuff like that. But it was.
But you can't work your game around that, right?
You got to at some point in time, you got to trust your team to go in there and not score 59 points.
So I've got an interesting story about that year when Conan was on the team. So this year is the closest that Montreal ever came from winning in NAC because originally instead of Conan, you were supposed to have Reinhardt. On the team. He made the team, but then he was working at Laser Quest. And then Justin was working at Laser Quest. So Reinhardt got kicked off the team. But had you had Reinhardt, you probably had
Reinhardt. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously Reinhardt's a fucking exceptional player.
But he was obviously a lot better than Ben, right?
That's what. Yeah, I mean, but you never know. Like NRH beat us years where we didn't have weak points on the team too, right? So But the funny
thing, changing the whole thing, right? Team chemistry and so on. You never know, right? Maybe prelims would have been different, so on. You can't base on that, but from stats saying it does make more sense,
but
right?
At the same time, those guys were good enough and smart enough players that they would have just come up with a different strategy. So I'm not saying we would have beat them. That's more just listing off how bad Conan was.
It's more a funny story,
right. So, but the interesting thing about that rivalry was like the next year we added Corwin and Blair, and we won.
Right. Who are those scrubs?
Yeah. In 2010. And then in 2011, they added Sector.
Wow.
And then they won. And then in 2012, we added
Bones.
Bones. And then that put us back over. So it was really this.
That's what's the fun about
juggling
rivalry,
and going back.
You always go to find the edge to get the win, right? So it's fun, just seeing that, getting new players and waiting for the results and seeing the plays and
So then 2012 ends, you win your final NAC.
Yep.
And then there is no more NAC.
Yeah.
So you go on a break.
Yeah. So for me, it was like I did not play for 5 years. I didn't play a single game. It was like my last game till sometime in 2017 was the NAC final. This is the last game of NAC finals in 2012.
Laser Quest has been such an integral part of your life. Such a huge part of your life for almost 15, 20 years at that point.
For sure.
How do you want to break for 5 years?
I just felt like at that point in time, there was nothing So for me, LQ started becoming, I don't want to say a chore, but it was, I didn't have the same passion for it for a long time. I did it because, I wanted to see my friends. And stuff like that. So with there being nothing to work for at that point in time, I felt like by that time I'd won 3 NACs, I think 7 regionals, a world championship. I was
ridiculously,
there was nothing left for me to do. I'm like, I want to.
Well, life happens also, right? You get more commitments, jobs, and so on. So it does become harder, right?
Absolutely. I just felt like, to me, it was like, LQ for me was always it was that competitiveness. It was I did it because I thrived on the competition and I thrived on, the rivalries and beating people and, doing stuff, working towards a common goal with my teammates and stuff like that. And with that being gone, that was the thing that, kind of drove me, I guess. So
the drive, right?
Yeah. So for me, there was no reason. LQ stopped being, I've said this at some point in time somewhere, LQ stopped being fun for me, somewhere probably 2003 or something it was just I did it because of my teammates and for the competition. That was the actual game of laser tag was not fun for me for a long time.
Or your competition and like you said, your social circle is all around based around laser quest.
Which still are today, right?
100%.
Most of your friends and so on.
My closest friends are still from a lot of them are still from laser tag.
Yes.
Same for us, right?
Yep. Speaking of closest friend, I'd be remiss if we don't address this on the podcast.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we suffered a terrible loss.
Yep.
And I will give this segment to both of you because you guys were really, really close. I'm talking, of course, about the passing of Stu, Snake Design, which left us way too early.
Yeah.
That guy was larger than life. He was an absolute monster. He
lived life.
He was such a good guy, and it was such a so. So if you guys want to say a few words about Stu.
I guess I can start.
Yeah.
It was. I don't profess to be. I wasn't as close to Stu as like some of the other guys on my team.
Richmond guys. Yeah.
Stu and I, we knew each other. Like we got along really well. Like we never had issues or anything like that. But I'm not going to come on here and say like, oh, he was my best friend.
Right.
And, I talked to him, right before the tragedy and stuff like that. But Stu and I were the type of people who, whenever I kind of got together with him, it was like we'd seen each other like the week before, or something like that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I'd bump into him at a wedding, or I'd bump into him at whatever, and it was like we just went right back to 2008, where we were at that point in time we were close. But he was closer with guys like Echo and even Lewis and stuff like that. It was.
I think that's something that not a lot of people knew. Me and Stu got really close in the last 4 years before the tragedy happened. Every time he'd come to Montreal, I'd go see him. Every time I'd come to Toronto, we'll go just me and him and eat and out. So like I was really sad. On the day of the tragedy, I was actually talking to Stu. He was at work and telling me what he was doing on set of a TV show and so on. So when I learned it, I actually learned it really late. I talked to him the same day, and then I was disappeared for 4 days, and then Echo, everyone tried to reach me. My Facebook was closed, and
I think I was gonna say, I think at that point in time, because I got woken up by Echo. Like Echo calls me a lot. I can obviously tell. But in defense, Echo's like my best friend. He's like we're really close. But he called me, and it was like fucking 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, okay, he's probably drunk and wants to play some joke on me or something like that. But I answered, for whatever reason, I answered the phone. And it was like I answered it, and there was like silence on the other end. It was like hello, and he's like, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I'm at the hospital, man. And initially I thought it was like him. And I'm like, what happened? Is everything okay? He's like, no. And like you could tell he was
shaking up,
super like this is 15 minutes after he had passed.
Right.
Man.
I know.
And he's like he's basically like Stu was in an accident, and I'm like, okay, and
is he okay?
We're 30 something, and I'm like, okay, like, so like he broke his leg or something like that, and he's like, and I'm like, I'm still half asleep at the time, and he's basically like, no, he's gone, man, and I'm like, what do you like, what? And my first indication is I'm like when somebody says this, and I'm just like, again, this is 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been sleeping, so I'm like, I didn't know what to do. Like
you freeze, right?
Yeah, I remember about that conversation. He and I probably had there was 30 seconds of silence where just neither one of us knew what to say.
Yes.
And then I'm sitting there, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm wide awake, so I wake up Chantal and I tell her, and then she's crying, and it was like it was a really, really emotional thing. And I remember people were telling me, because again, this was really before I was kind of back into really playing, and people were telling me like, Lewis, and Stu were really close. So can you get a hold of Lewis, because nobody else can? And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to. But
we weren't that close back then.
Yeah, your Facebook was just like
I had some personal issues and so on. But you know what? Talking about questions too, I'm happy because. The last tournament that you actually came back was in Whitby, and I came to town, saw Stu.
Yeah.
He came to my Airbnb in a motorcycle, and I was like, watch out and so on. Because Stu lived his life 100 miles an hour, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I told him, watch out and so on. And then he's like, you know what? I'll come back tonight. We went to eat chocolate, and then I'm like, come by Whitby, just for fun and so on. He came by. I actually convinced him to play his last tournament there, which I'm really happy to have done because he hasn't played like you in the last 6 years. So he did come out and play that tournament.
Interesting. Let me just jump in. One cool thing was he showed up, and in typical Stu fashion, he was just having fun and fucking around.
Yeah.
The last game of like prelims or whatever, he's like, okay, I'm gonna try.
Oh yeah.
And so he played, and he won with like some massive score in like the last game of like the last tournament that he
and he did playoffs and left. He didn't want to play playoffs. He didn't want to play playoffs.
That's such a Stu story.
He gives his spot to Deep Freeze, and he's like, you know what? I had fun. I was so happy he came out. It's a good memory that I have. And Rest in peace, you know.
Definitely. The dude has lived more, like has experienced more in life in his short lifespan than like, you know, a lot of people do. Like, so
he put joy a lot to a lot of people.
He's sorely missed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's a.
Yep.
All right.
We had to talk about it.
We did. Yeah.
So I was talking about Whitby. So I made Stu come out. Whitby was the time that you came back. So you came back to play a tournament?
How does that happen? How you haven't played in 5 years?
So I know this is gonna ruin the mystique of this whole story. But I played that Chicago tournament like a couple months before.
Oh, okay.
So it's but
with Echo, no?
Yeah.
You did,
so put it into perspective. But yeah, it was basically like, but we can talk about Whitby because obviously.
No, let's talk about Chicago. I was in that final, so. Is that the tournament you play with?
The NRH guys in Spam and Echo. Obviously, we lost. We got second. I was pretty happy because I hadn't played in 5 years, and I was really worried coming back that I was going to be bad.
It's riding a bike, right? When you're one of the best players,
there's not, man. There's sometimes there's people that come back and they're just not what they.
You're right.
So I was like, I didn't want to do that. You know, I'm the one thing that I'm sure has come across is like I'm super competitive. Like, so if I do something, I'm gonna be as like
as good as I can be.
As good as I can be at it. Whether it's Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, fuck you.
or laser tag, right? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it 100%. So
like you said, that's a drive. Right?
Yeah,
that's what drives you, and
So I was worried about it. So I played Chicago, and I was like, okay. It had been 5 years. I'm like, I kind of missed the road trips and stuff like that. So my wife and like Chantel and Echo, we all jumped in a car and we went down, and it was kind of fun for the first hour on the road. And then I got to like,
what the fuck am I doing?
Why did I do this? Why didn't I fly there?
You know what? I remember Echo saying, we're going. I'm like, what the fuck? He's trolling again. Yeah. It's not gonna happen. And then people told me they fucking showed up, right?
You had Matt too, right?
Yeah,
he did
Spam. So. Yeah, it was a fun tournament, and I showed up, and I did better than I thought I would do.
You were still like top 5 in
I think I was third.
Yeah.
But when you're first and second all the time,
there's no seconds.
I remember you finishing second behind me in the tournament.
Yeah, with Montreal.
No.
You tagged your B team 75 times.
There were good players at the tournament too.
It was a great tournament. The tournament itself was fucking terrible. Like the packs and like the organization and stuff like that on it was fucking garbage. But like the turnout and stuff, and I showed up and I was like, LQ was fun again at that point in time. So I was like, Whitby, and then I think Whitby was like 3 or 4 months later.
Yep. Right.
So I showed up and I played Whitby, and then it was kind of, I wasn't totally sure if I was going to make a comeback at that point in time. And everyone was like, oh, you got to show up and see these new centers and see these new packs and stuff like that. And I showed up and like, I remember playing the first game on those new packs.
You liked them?
Oh my god, man! They're those
lasers.
Yeah, it brings them in. Like it's just I all of a sudden I started having fun playing laser tag again.
Right.
Well, and seeing the old people, right? I remember seeing you. I was so happy that you came out and see even Chicago when you go see the people, right? It brings all the stuff,
100%.
and you don't have the commitment of when you were younger, the money, this and that. Finances are good. You just go play. You have fun. You go back to real life afterwards, right?
That's absolutely accurate. Absolutely accurate.
And that tournament in Whitby was obviously like a solo tournament.
It was I think we played like 30 games or something.
It was a marathon.
It was a marathon, and I was shocked that even physically I could still play that many because I was like Christ, I would have been like 33 at that time or something like that. So I wasn't old, but I certainly wasn't in the shape that I was in
it was
my
2 years
20s.
ago, wasn't it?
2017.
Yeah,
so
it was
3 years
ago.
about 2 years. So I was 33, 32.
So not only do you make a comeback, but you get first place. You win the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Who did you play in finals? Yeah,
Gengar, yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was Gengar.
Was it Gengar? I don't remember.
I remember you laughing the whole time. I was marshalling that game. I remember you laughing.
I just remember I just couldn't get over those packs. I was like, I can do the most ridiculous stuff, and I can still tag people.
You
right.
Like I was like, I don't know. There's something about the Whitby maze for me that the packs in the maze just line up.
It's one of my favorite mazes. Yeah. Seriously, I like
the walls are at the it's just everything was at the right height for me. Everything so I just I felt really really comfortable in that maze. So I was probably screwing around a bit.
I'm happy. It made you come back.
Yeah. It was It was a damn good time.
So you come back, you play a bunch of tournaments, and we're gonna gloss over those because I want to get to WLC 2019. That obviously just happened a few months ago. Tell me about that.
Well, what do you want to know?
What was the roster? It was you?
Yeah, so the roster was myself, Corwin, and Justin.
Yep.
We had Mo, Sector, Andrea, Ricky.
I think that's it.
That's it. It was 7 on a 6.
It's a 6-man team, but you guys
6-man
had
team,
an
but we
alternate,
carried
right?
an alternate. Yeah, so
Justin was
4
the
from
alternate.
NRH, 3 from Toronto.
Yeah, okay.
Was the thing, and we put the team together because we were basically like, we kind of thought it would be cool to come full circle, right? It was like, we had played so many times against NRH, and like we had played, and like gone to war with them and stuff like that. But I had never played with those guys, never.
Oh, was it the first time?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were like,
Except for Chicago, right? With that solo.
But those 2 guys weren't on the team. I'd never played.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'd never played with like their top
Right.
players.
Yes.
So we talked about it, and like they were, Sector and Mo were basically like, oh, we don't know. They're basically Sector and Mo were kind of like, the only way we would come back is to play on like this specific team.
Right.
Like I want to play with those guys. I want to play on a team where there's going to be no drama and everybody's just going to go down there and handle their shit. And that was, that was the idea behind it. Plus, at that point in time, we were like, we got to put together a team to beat the USA team with Lollipop and Colombo and Kyle and Enemy.
And also the Europe team. You guys put up that team because you want to fight the French.
Well, that was
so England were coming and so on, right?
So fuck that, man.
I want to bring it up. That's why I brought it up.
So
right?
we put this team together specifically because we thought that there was going to be this godly USA team, and we were like, okay, we need a real squad to go against
Take them on.
And then we thought like the French, like everybody. I heard for so long about how fucking good, and I don't know if they'll understand this, so you translate it.
Depends what you say.
I heard for so long about how good the French were, and so I wanted to play the French. And then when that team went over, when the WLC team went over and beat them, I was like, okay, they're not that good, because I was like, that team is not like, those are great players, but that's not the best North America has to offer.
Right.
I truly felt like we had the best, team that. I mean, maybe you could interject.
But then again, I was marshaling. I saw what happened. What I'm saying is that the French people didn't have the best team together either.
Well, because they don't
stack together
like Cam. But
that's what I'm saying.
I'd heard about how
to give them credit, they didn't have the best French team as well, right?
Okay, so anyway, long story short, we hear that they're coming here. We're like, all right, let's put this team together. Let's come back. Let's show everybody that. We're still the best, and the only reason other people are winning is because we stopped playing.
Right.
And then unfortunately, the team's folded for whatever reason.
Yes.
And we still went, and we ended up playing against that Western team, which was I'll say this right now. I don't think that France or Team USA, didn't matter who they had, was going to beat that Western team. Those guys were so
they played
good
well,
in that maze on those packs, man. They were so prepared and so like. I can't understate how good those guys were.
Yeah, they had a top-notch performance.
Blaze, Shaggy, Knock was ridiculous. Voltage was insane.
Yeah, he's good. He's always been good.
Man, holy! Like I was like, these guys, like they were really good, really, really good.
So how satisfying did that feel? That win.
It was satisfying. It wasn't super satisfying because it was like we set out to beat 2 specific teams.
Yeah.
They didn't show. They didn't come.
So, it all comes back to his competitiveness, right? You wanted to, as much as put a good team to play against the best players, right? To beat them, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was satisfying. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we worked for it. We were, we were in shape. We had practice. We did
a tournament just so you guys could play
together.
We
were in the
right?
three man, so that Corwin, Justin, and I could iron some of the kinks and stuff like that. So it was rewarding, but it wasn't what I thought it would be, unfortunately. But what are you
always still fun to win, right?
I just think we scared them.
Maybe. That's probably what it is. That's what we'll say. We're just scared to come out and play. All right, this pretty much covers like your history as a Laser Quest player. So I want to ask you what? Yeah, it is. Jesus Christ, we're also. I didn't think you started playing 95. I started playing 97.
Yeah, so 97 was my first NAC, but I was an active member in like 95.
Yeah, I wasn't even born. I'm kidding.
You're like a year younger than me.
So
I
what's
wasn't playing,
your
though. I played
what's
late.
your top 5 player of all time?
Yeah. Okay. So I posted this, so I better get them the
Remember?
same. But no, I won't rank them. We'll just say top 5. I'm sure you guys can guess. But Corwin,
Definitely.
100%, and I think that's just based on longevity. Like so.
Yes.
The fact is, Corwin was God in 1998.
Yeah.
And
Corwin
it's
is
still-
God in 2020.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. That's
Uncontested.
there's
100%.
nobody that's been that good for that long.
Right.
That's why, in my opinion, he's the greatest of all time.
Yep.
And that's me with a giant ego saying Corwin is the greatest of all time based on longevity.
Plus, he's a nice guy. Like you wouldn't want it to be anyone else.
He wasn't
like,
at one point in time.
Really?
Like,
I do remember hearing some
Corwin used to be. Corwin used to talk a little trash.
I remember hearing about that.
It was,
There's people
it was
that
pretty,
told me. Yeah,
it was pretty good, man. He's
That's
obviously.
hilarious.
It was a short period of time.
When it was Carnage, right?
Man, Carnage. And it's funny because they kind of have like alter ego. They were kind of like alter egos. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So Carnage was an animal.
Yeah.
Corwin's the cool guy.
Corwin's
That's exactly what the
Corwin's
name is, right?
Corwin's very chill.
Well, he's still gonna fuck you up in the maze. though.
Right.
But, you know.
Yeah.
It's serious face, right?
Right. So Corwin, we got one.
Yeah, so Corwin would be in there. I have to say Sifu Mo from
Okay.
NRH.
Okay.
I just think that he was the best player on
that team.
probably the best team that ever existed. And then especially having played with him at WLC and just seeing
You see the difference of
how good he is and how he approaches the game and how much of a calming factor he was on a team that needed calming factors. Mo is like he's insane, man. And he was the guy that like he didn't wear the God packs like in NRH. He didn't need to.
Right.
Mo would be one. He's just I can't say enough good things about him. I put Mo on a pedestal, right? Like, and I told this to him after the WLC, and I was nervous kind of going at WLC because I was like, well, what if I play with this guy and he's a dick, or but you know what? Or he's not as good as I think that he is.
Right, okay.
He was better than I thought that he was, and he was a nicer guy, and he by far deserves to be considered one of the greatest players to ever play.
Corwin, Mo,
Kyle.
Oh, definitely.
So I went against my whole thing because I was like, when I put most of the lists together, I tried to do it based on NAC accomplishments. And Ryan doesn't have any. Like I'm not talking shit about him, but like he doesn't have any.
Didn't have the team or
Right,
yeah.
But he did at points in VB. There were times where VB could have been great, but he just wasn't surrounded by guys that wanted to be great. But you can't talk about from an individual like dominance standpoint, just the sheer number of wins and stuff like that. Ryan has to be there. He might be. It's just unfortunate that he wasn't born in Texas or Toronto or something like that, because the story would be massively different. But from a skill and a dominance standpoint, definitely Ryan.
Well,
and then
run all the RVA solos, right? So
you beat those 6 guys.
I'm not touching that one. All right, you got 3 players.
I would say Enemy. Would be
Vince,
the next one. And Vince is another one that's just been like this. He's another guy that being in San Antonio, he wasn't surrounded by a lot of skill. I mean, obviously he played a lot of side tournaments with Nick and Ramiro, and they were very dominant. But Vince is probably like the guy that I would say like the game comes easiest to.
It's crazy.
Like it's just. He's and you can't argue with like my whole thing is like you can't argue with stats. Like numbers don't lie, right? You can say like, oh, so and so is good, or and whatever. But when you look at like some of the stats that he's put up, you just can't argue that he's one of the greatest ever to play. And I know there are people out there that think that he's overrated and stuff. And I've said that like he's protected and stuff like that. And it's all just me talking shit. He is literally. One of the greatest players.
Definitely.
I've seen him play. He's amazing. He's insane. As a marshalling a game, watching him play, he's amazing.
He's crazy.
Yes,
he's crazy.
Only one spot left.
You have to put yourself. I mean,
as
there you go, or whatever. I'll give it to yourself.
I'm not gonna. I won't gas myself up.
But wait, we have to say.
I do.
You've won and you've all won it, and like you're up there. 100%.
I do consider 100%. Myself.
Yeah.
in the conversation.
I'll give it
Yeah.
to you.
So-
You're in there for sure.
Sure.
Do you want to elaborate on that, or we just skip
Again,
the next
number,
topic?
like I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I just think numbers don't lie, and you can look at statistics and
Yep.
stuff like that, and it's like I'll just say that like numbers don't lie.
You can
Well,
prove it empirically,
right.
right?
The
We
only
have
thing I
years and
haven't
years of
done
data.
yet is
Yeah.
win with me.
That's really hard.
Oh, yeah.
That's really fucking hard. Like
That's
I
impossible.
tried. I tried.
my ass, you did.
You are such a bad teammate.
Oh my god.
It's hilarious.
So let me tell this story real quick.
No,
about playing
it's not fucking
the
true.
Montreal 3 man with Lewis.
It's
So
not fucking true.
I'm playing in this cubby, and I'm tagging the dudes in front of me, and here comes Lewis, and he runs in, and I'm not kidding you, he stands 2 feet directly in front of me, and starts trying to tag the guys that I'm tagging.
There weren't enough points, man.
And I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, go to the other side. Tag him
Ronan was on the other side.
Fuck.
That's funny.
And I'm just like, Lewis, like, what? I'm like, move.
It's gonna be funny in Denver, huh? I'm kidding.
If you make it, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. If you make it, spread. Okay, so slightly different take on the top five. Top five in their prime.
So I'll go with I'm not going to try and name the same people.
Yep.
Okay.
Top five in their prime. Number one is Decoy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Decoy.
Definitely.
Such a dominant player.
Yeah, there was a
Such
point in
dominant
time, like
player.
I don't know when it'd probably be like the early 2000s, where Blair was the best player in laser tag.
Right.
I played against him on like a weekly basis. Blair was better than anyone else in laser tag.
And he had such a unique
Yep.
take on
Way
the
of
game,
playing, yeah.
unique style.
Well, you guys can't even begin to comprehend the knowledge that he had
Yeah.
from packs and like the game and stuff. Like with Blair, it goes beyond just skill. But in his prime, at that time he was the best player.
Hands down.
Second one would be like Lollipop.
Okay.
Like Lollipop in the years that Houston was good, it was because of Nick. Like it's Nick's in the conversation for one of the greatest of all time as well.
Yes.
I just think that he doesn't quite have the statistics that an enemy does. Like so to me, it was between
the toss-up of
that
the two,
those
right?
two,
Yeah.
and just enemy has the more of the individual accolades than Nick does. But there was a time Nick was, he could do anything he wanted.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the guy's passion and his dedication and stuff like that. When he's motivated, to show up and to play, you couldn't stop him. What's that? 2?
Yep.
You got to mention Ronan. You 100%
Yes.
have to mention
Yeah,
Ronan.
yeah.
Definitely.
He's definitely in there. I mean, the side tournament streak that guy went on, and the dominance and stuff like I said, he had myself, Cougar. Blair, like all of us excited just to beat him at a side tournament. So there's something
That's
to be
saying
said
something.
for how
Yeah.
dominant and how great that guy was.
Definitely.
There was probably, there was a point in time where he was by far the best player. Is that 3?
Yep.
See, I feel like I'm gonna.
You can name the
people,
same.
right?
No, I don't
the
want to
same
name the same people, but I'm afraid I'm gonna miss somebody.
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus.
Okay. Yeah.
So talking like 98, 99.
Oh yeah. Dominant player.
He was the
Absolutely.
best.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever
Hands
played
down.
him.
He was in 98, 99. He was the best player on the planet.
Yeah.
It wasn't close, like by a mile.
Wow.
By a mile.
Where
Won
did he
every
play?
single game.
Because I don't
Phoenix.
remember Phoenix.
It was him. It was him and Nate.
Yeah.
Nate would be in the conversation as well, but again, kind of like I just think Taylor was a little better than Nate was from that standpoint.
One more.
Top 5 in their prime. I should have given this more thought.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Andy. Bad Andy.
Yeah. Okay. That's 100%. Yeah. Andy, man, he was dominant in like 2004, 2005, 2006. Andy, that's a really good one.
Yeah. I do believe.
And I think if you gave me some time, I would have come to that as well. But
Eventually.
I agree wholeheartedly. He put Westland on his back.
Yeah.
At some tournaments, because some of his individual stats and stuff.
Justin Saga, I remember playing him.
Oh,
It was
God, dude, Andy's
insane,
crazy.
man.
He
Oh,
was so
God.
insanely accurate, man. Like he
Yeah.
would just. There aren't
His
many.
shots were like,
There weren't many people in laser tag that I would like actively try and avoid. Andy was one of the dudes where I was like, no, man,
that says a lot.
it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm like, I'll go tag someone else.
All right, and slightly different take. Top 5 currently.
Justin.
Okay,
Yep,
definitely.
Justin is top 5 currently. Again, I'm just gonna say stats don't lie.
Yeah.
He's won so many tournaments.
Yeah,
Jesus.
that's so. Justin's probably he's
Runner up to all of those lists, right?
Yeah.
Corin.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna. I don't want
You're trying to, yeah, but
I'm trying to give love to people that are still in the game and
Yeah.
still playing. And so Corwin gets love being the greatest.
the greatest
of all
of
time.
yeah.
People
And
don't also
something
need to hear about how good he still is.
Yeah.
Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
I'd give some love
Andy.
to. And again, I've played with Andy. He's a great teammate. And it's again like stats don't lie, man.
Mhm.
He's just consistently a top performer. This is gonna be a bit of a weird one, but I'm gonna say Voltage.
Okay.
Actually,
yeah. No. Fair enough.
The way that he played at WLC for me was just he was great. Like not only is he a tough tag, but he's a smart player. He played like a pretty brilliant game.
Yeah, 3.
Currently, fuck. The whole thing is like no, it's tough, man.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Especially if you're trying not to go with like
You're right. I mean, well, because if I was gonna
like Corwin's in
of course,
sure,
well,
yeah.
and so's Enemy. So
Yeah,
they're all
yeah.
like they're all in that conversation.
So think overseas.
I would say Trixie.
Yeah.
Would be. I would put Trixie.
He's
in
a
there.
monster.
I put Trixie in there.
Yeah.
I haven't played him since 2017.
Right.
But stats don't lie.
Yeah, again,
he wins everywhere.
You're
He
that
wins
dominant,
everything,
and then you can come over here, and he's a force.
play on our packs and be like
and play our style and stuff like that.
100%,
Trixie would be.
100%.
Trixie would be one.
Anyone from West Coast?
Well, Voltage is West Coast, right?
Okay. Oh yeah, he moved, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd probably say Andrea.
Yeah.
I know that's gonna be like controversial and stuff like that because she doesn't get a lot of love, but she's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
She's a monster. She's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
You played with her. You've played against her. You
Yeah.
know how she plays. Yeah, 100%.
All right. So you've been known to take a few God packs.
Okay, so let's just clarify. I was given the God packs. I never once said like I want to play these.
At some point, he was captain, right?
So that's
That's
what I
funny
want to
because
ask.
now I actually don't play them anymore.
So that's why I want to ask you. How did this happen? How did you become like?
I don't
You
know.
were like the God pack player,
I don't.
right?
I don't know.
I think it comes with stats, right? When you're doing good, you want to give the best player with the best pack, right?
Honestly, it came to Blair, and I would think that it started around the time when Shoulder Quest happened, and it became the fact that like, listen, I'm short. I'm like 5'10", 5'9", 5'10". I'm not one of the taller guys in LQ. So in order for, and I think it really started with like the Shoulder Quest packs, and it was like if we want Adam to have an impact or to have the impact that he can have, we need to give him a God pack because otherwise he's just going to get some 6'3" guys rail on his shoulders and stuff like that. So I really think that's where it started. And then I performed pretty well on the God packs, right? So
Is that something that like is like it felt natural to you, or that's what you would define as your role?
Yeah, I mean, it became my role.
Right.
I mean, in the early, I mean, we didn't have roles, in the early years and stuff like that. And then probably around like 2002 was when I started playing, the top pack and stuff like that, or at least in the mix for them. And then 2004, in 2004, I played the best packs. There's no way around it. And then from that point on, I played the best packs. But before that, we didn't really have roles. And then I think like for us in 2004, it really became, that's when we started talking about, like those
strategies and roles
and like positions, and stuff like that. Come back at the end. So like the difference between NACs and WLC rules too, because that'll be I hate the WLC rules.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah.
To answer the question, I don't specifically know where it came from. I'm sure that it probably came from the fact that I can't protect my shoulders as well as the taller guy can.
Okay.
That's really probably where it started.
But then, so from 2004 and on, you're basically wearing the best pack.
Yeah.
So a lot of the team's performance hinges on how you're going to do, right? So how do you get into that mindset that you're going to fucking like carry this game, destroy everybody? Go ahead.
Yeah, to me, it was like if I don't do my job, I really felt like if I didn't win every game, then I didn't do my job.
Right.
But beyond that, and I think one of the things that separated me from being one of the reasons that Toronto had good success was when I wore the best pack. I didn't just try and score. I tried to open the game up and make everything easier for my teammates.
Okay.
So I would go and I would put the best pack on and I would go to the hardest or most important area to hold and I would play that area, and then, or I would play against the other God packs.
Shut them down.
Yeah, I wouldn't go and,
chase scrubs.
I wouldn't, and I wasn't looking for points because I was like, the points obviously come with the pack, but it was like, I wasn't trying to, pad my stats. I was trying to open the game up because I was like, if I can go and stand in the middle of this tower and they can't hit me, people are going to be like, oh shit, that's pack 6 over there. and I'd have 3 or 4 guys firing at me, and then that opens up 3 or 4 easy tags for my teammates. You know, and my mentality was I was never going to be, I was going to try and not be stationary. I was going to try and move around so that, you know, my pack had an impact on the entire game. You know, that was the way that I looked at it was, you know, sorry. It's one thing to take a god pack and to score, you know, 600 points, you know, standing in a corner or something like that. And that's great, but you're not helping your team.
Right.
You're not making the game easier for your team. Moving around, I felt like my team could pick up easy back tags and stuff like that. Yeah. And I wanted the impact of my pack to be felt throughout the entire game, not just in one specific area. So I was never a lockdown player. It was always, for me, it was always about being mobile. And that's one of the interesting things about the new packs is you can't do that on the new packs. So I've had to completely change the way that I play.
Hey, you get killed.
Yeah,
for sure.
Anyone can tag anyone on the new packs. That's a big difference about it right now.
It's very much positioning.
Yeah.
So next thing I want to get into is you've kind of defined a new role for yourself, like in the GTA, right? As coming back, you're taking like a more active approach into trying to bring new blood into the game, coaching people. Anything you want to say about that?
No, I mean, I think that like for Laser Quest gave so much, you know, to me personally. Obviously, I have some great memories, some great friends from it. You know, I'm lucky enough to have a wife that, you know, supported the craziness that was Laser Quest, right? You know,
how many times she's been there?
She went to every NAC from 2007 on, right? So, you know, I'm blessed and I'm happy to, you know, to have found someone like that, and obviously it's somebody that shares it with me. So I feel like I have to give, you know, something back to
the community, to the game.
You know what I mean? And there was this reputation about me that I wasn't like the nicest guy or something like that.
What do you mean reputation?
So listen, I
know it firsthand. I'm kidding.
No, because it's true. But like, it was also, people don't understand, it was kind of an act that I put on.
Mind games.
It was like, I would play mind games. I would talk shit to people in games to get them pissed off so they'd stay and I could tag them a couple more times.
Well, just to cover the new role, I mean, obviously people maybe don't know, me and Adam got actually pretty close throughout the years since he's been back. And
for sure.
I mean, he's helped me a lot. Everyone's known about this. I haven't gotten my first win in a long time, and I got my first win while he was there playing against him. And I mean, winning the trophy was something, but from him handling to me was actually really emotional. It was the fact that someone that mentor and been watching the whole time, giving me the award of me winning, gave it the extra spice, right? So that's his new role right now that I feel is really good because he's showing you stuff. He's giving the game. At one point, you have to stop, right? So before he stops, he wants to make sure that there's a future to it. As much as we're doing this right now, we're doing so on to continue, right?
Trying to keep the game alive.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, that's my whole thing is I'm just trying to be, you know, more supportive and stuff like that. Like, you know, even at like WLC, like, you know, I tried to, I wasn't the same as I used to be. You know, I'm trying to, you know, trying to be more kind, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still in there at some point in time if it needs to come out.
There's competition, right?
Right. But
there's a time for it, and there's, you know.
Yeah, I take pride now in, you know, watching the, you know, players in the GTA develop and stuff like that and get better and have, you know, successes themselves. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't have a different role per se, but it's also, I think people perceive me as, you know, somebody who knows what they're talking about stuff. So people, you know, people kind of listen sometimes. When
they come to you for questioning.
Right,
you've done it, you've won it.
But instead of telling them that they're shit and to fuck off, like now I'm like, you know, I'm trying to help. Right?
Definitely. So definitely one of the challenges in recruiting new blood is they come like somebody who goes to, you know, like they know I will not climb or jump, I will not sit or lie down. But then they come to tournaments and there's this entirely new set of rules, right?
Yep.
So I think you wanted to touch on cheating. So WLC rules, NAC rules?
Well, I just wanted to touch on how shitty the WLC rules are. Or not the rules, I shouldn't say that, but the way that they do things. Like the pack sets and the numbered pack thing is the stupidest fucking thing in the world.
Because it takes away a strategy.
It takes away a strategy. There's no other sport in the, it's not like in baseball, they put everybody's name in a hat and they're like, okay, Barry Bonds, you're pitching this inning.
Yep.
You know, it's like, it takes an element of it out of the game. It makes it more random and it takes some of the skill out of it.
100%.
So, I realize that's the rules, but you know, one thing that frustrated me at WLC was the fact that I didn't understand why we were playing in the European rules in North America.
Okay.
I would just say the one piece for this is not getting into new blood, but This is, the one piece for me is like, if I go to Europe, I have no problem playing under their rule set because I know that's the way that they play, and I go with that understanding.
Yeah.
But when the tournament is in North America, we should be playing under, our rules, which are numbered packs.
How do you feel? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, that was it.
How do you feel about cheating nowadays inside tournaments?
I mean, like, it is what it is. It happens. I think it's on us as players to enforce it, and it's on the players that are doing it to have the self-respect for the game and the people that they're playing against to not do it. Listen, cheating's always going to happen. It's always happened. I'm okay with the gray areas. I'm okay with somebody holding a lean too long or holding their arms up or something like that. But for me, it's like cupping. Cupping is like the ultimate one. When you cup your laser, you can't accidentally do it. You can't not be aware that you're doing it. All of these things. That's like you've actively decided at this point in time
you want to cheat to win.
Yeah,
right?
And I don't have respect for that.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm actually gonna like.
Sorry. Let me. I know that we're probably running long here.
Yeah.
But whatever. You guys should weigh in on the challenge in getting new blood because Montreal is really right now like the epicenter for activity in Laser Quest. I mean, you guys ran a tournament basically like on a Sunday night that had more people show up for it than you were expecting, and you had to change it from a 2-man to a 3-man.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I'm going to slide back, finish my beer, maybe grab another one, and you guys should talk a little bit about that for 2 seconds here.
He's strong already.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think we're really, really lucky in Montreal because we have an incredible staff. We have a lot of people that are actively fostering interest in the game.
Yep.
And it's not all talk, like the story, what happened with that mixer that we had on a Sunday night, the manager stayed on her own time, like 3-4 hours later to run a tournament for us, which is because she's excited to see all of these new players, all of these old players come back, and just the fact that there's such an interest in the game. So first of all, we're really, really lucky to have the staff. And I think second of all, like you were saying before, as we're getting older, it's less about destroying everybody, and it's less about like proving yourself. Like we've done that. Like we've won tournaments, we've played tournaments. Some of us have won tournaments.
Well, for myself, I'm doing it because I want to win a tournament, right? Yeah. I'm kidding. No, but
imagine if you won one with good teams at it.
No, but I feel like me coming back to it also. I also stopped playing for a while, and I went to the States, and then that sparked it back up, and went to WLC and overseas, and I always have love for the game. So I've been trying to figure new stuff to bring to the game and so on. Like the Sunday tournament, it was really we didn't pay a fee. Everyone that had
we all have memberships.
We have memberships.
Yeah.
So everyone that had the membership paid for free. I actually put my own money to pay for trophies to get people coming. I didn't mind doing it, right? It was just the fact that getting the new blood reason, right? We're practicing all the time and so on, but it was something to have a feel for, right? So then after that, Mississauga's doesn't next month, and then we're trying to keep them updated and to have challenge, right? Because playing every week is fun, but having an objective makes you bigger, stronger, and so on.
I have to say it's a little bit of a selfish endeavor because I'm sick and fucking tired of playing Louis and Martin every week. Like before a tournament, that used to be my practice. I'll go and we'll beat on each other senseless.
I hate 15 minutes in airlock.
So now we have like 10, 15 players every practice, and we can actually
you can simulate
enjoy the game,
right? And you can. One thing that we started doing in the GTA was we run drills. Like, because you pay for a monthly pass, and it's like, it's $40. And
play as much as you want.
We'll run games, and we're like, we don't care about the score. We're going to drill specific things. So we'll drill 2-on-1s. We have this game where we play at 10 feet, 5 feet, 1 foot. 1 foot.
Okay.
10 feet, 5 feet, 1. You play at 10 feet until you tag each other. Then you move to 5 feet. And so if somebody's got you at a range, you have to really learn how to work to tag that person in their strength before you can get back to yours. We do drills where we'll play 5 minutes of like, I'm on the wall, or I have the wall, and somebody's standing in a hallway, and they have to learn how to move and tag around, and then how somebody learns. And then it shows you how dominant it is to have positioning and stuff like that.
Well,
so you can do all those things when you have the people.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like Alex said, it's really how the sender is really helping us, right?
Oh,
so it always comes with that, right? Like I know a lot of center closes and so on, but if you don't have the love from the center, it's always hard to struggle and go against it, right? So they book times for us that we could play. They do everything for us, 8-minute games if we want, and so on. So thank you, Montreal, for all the staff there. You really, really helped. And like I'm planning to do another tournament in Ottawa, which I don't know the manager at all. But because the manager in Montreal has worked with them, she's gonna actually come with me to Ottawa to convince them
That's
to run
awesome.
something there, right?
That's awesome.
It's just all about the love for the game, right? We're all here because of that, and we've never would have started this quest if we didn't get back into it. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so fun. We're doing this to actually attract more people to listen to it, right? It's something that you can listen to in your car, listen to whatever you're doing, just to feel the love. New people are gonna listen to what they have to say and so on, and get more love, more love.
I think this podcast specifically. What would you guys call it? Tag talk or
Podcast.
Okay, right.
How many beer have you have, man?
Tagtalk might be better actually.
Tag talk.
It's actually not bad.
I thought it was good. I was figuring out a way to slide that in.
Yeah.
I was like, if I pretend that's what it's called. Yeah. I'll take a percentage of your YouTube.
Sounds good.
Get that.
Percentage of 0. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think that this is something that's been long overdue. It's not anything that's really all that complicated, and I really, to the people that are out there in like the LQ community that are looking to grow their member base and stuff like that, like look to these two guys. Like talk to the guys in Montreal, because what they've done is absolutely incredible. It's like I showed up there to that tournament in the 3-man that I played with Lewis. And the turnout was just it was insane. Like you guys had like 7 or 8 teams, like from Montreal.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen. That's like 30 active players.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's something that used to happen 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
But even then, not even from a ton of centers. Like you guys probably have a more active members base now than you did at times when like the golden years, because it's fantastic. It's absolutely great. You guys have done an amazing job.
We're blessed and really hope we can keep it up, because like for years I wasn't really playing, I wasn't really active, and I was missing from my life, right?
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, next segment. I haven't shown you this, but I want to ask you some questions, and I want like a knee-jerk reaction from you. So this is a little bit like on the lighter side. So who would you consider to be your biggest
Do you want me to
personal...
look away from the screen? So
just look at the camera.
Like stare into the camera.
Who's your biggest rival? I want a team and I want a player.
Well, NRH is our biggest rival.
Definitely.
Player?
That's why I'm asking you for a player.
I would probably say Mo, just
Yeah?
based on the fact that like he and I had some pretty epic battles in those NAC finals and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I would go with Mo.
Fair
at
enough.
NRH.
Kill, marry, fuck, Stillwater, Lollipop, Echo.
Let's just go to the next one.
No, this is the most important one.
All right, I would definitely fuck Kiefer.
I knew it. I knew it.
I'd probably marry Justin.
It's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
And he'd kill Lollipop.
You spelled lollipop
Called
wrong,
it.
by the way.
I did. Sorry.
French way. L-O-L-L-Y.
Lollipop.
All right. Your proudest tournament win? I want one NAC, like one specific year if you remember it, and one non-NAC.
So it's a toss-up for me because 2009, winning NAC with Toronto East was pretty proud.
Yes.
Because I felt like I'd really, kind of built that from the ground up. And then obviously 2004, winning kind of the first one is always pretty awesome. Non-tournament or non-NAC win. Like I said, I'll go back to that Ronan quest one, because that's really the only one that I remember, like a specific moment from. I mean, I remember the odd moments from other ones, but that's the only one where I was
where
I was like legitimately excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember the stat. I can't even tell you who the 5th player on our team was, but I remember that.
Somebody listening
I remember
to the
that
podcast.
moment.
Someone's listening is going to
Yeah,
comment. I was your
somebody's
fucking
Somebody's
player,
gonna be
right?
mad.
Terrible. Okay. What's your biggest tournament disappointment? What are you expecting to win?
NAC 2007.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. I would have to say that. Yeah, okay. Who's the Brad Marchand of Laser Quest? You know what I mean by that, right?
Like the biggest pain in the ass?
Yeah, the one that like you
Can they be a
fucking
teammate?
hate
But
him,
you want
but you want him on your
right?
team.
Kiefer.
Kiefer, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
Bar none. These are good questions, by the way.
If you had to give a sportsmanship award,
Corwin.
all time
Corwin.
for a specific player
Corwin.
and a specific team.
Corwin.
So Corwin is his own team.
Yeah. Well, he should be. But no, Corwin, like all time. Again, like he's just you can't find anyone in Laser Quest that doesn't have nice things to say about. And that's incredible considering how fucking like he pounds people into the ground.
Yes.
And then they come out, they're like, "Oh, I got tagged a million times by Corwin."
I remember
He was so nice to me while he did it. Like
I remember going at originals and people would say, if you see another Asian, run away from him. Oh my god.
What about team?
Team sportsmanship.
yeah, that's
Madison Knights. No, no. Maybe the
That's
opposite.
like maybe Appleton.
Oh yeah,
Maybe a team like Appleton.
They were
Like they
always
were
super
always
cool.
a real, cool. Like they were competitive, but they were always super cool bunch of people.
Lou Cougar.
Yeah,
Ginger
Lou Cougar,
Spice.
Ginger.
Yeah, yeah.
E Breadman. I could fucking probably name that whole team.
Yeah,
Ariok, Bree, or
Ariok.
Breadman. E. They were a good bunch of folks. Trinity, obviously.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They were cool. I like those. I like them.
So, what's the single most stacked team you've ever been on?
Probably the WLC 2019
Yeah.
team. I mean, I think about if we had put that team together for a tournament in like 2012, when all of us were playing.
Good luck.
Oh my god, that would have been crazy. I mean, I played on some good ones. There was, I played with Kyle. Told me an interesting stat actually that Ryan and I have played. I don't know how many tournaments it is, but we've only lost one tournament that we've ever played together. So I played on you think about it, I played like Corwin, Blair, Ryan, and myself at tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
So I played on some really, really stacked teams.
Yes.
I've also lost with some really stacked teams.
Yeah, true.
So,
who have you never won a tournament with, but you would have hoped to?
that's a real tough one.
Why are you looking at me?
Definitely, it would definitely be Lewis. I've actually respected Lewis's game for quite some time, and I think obviously the fact that he and I are. Friends outside of reasonably close outside of LQ. It's something that I'd like to do. You'd be on the list as well. Like, believe it or not, you two guys, two of the guys that I desperately want to play. We have at least played twice.
Yeah.
I mean, I know with the 2-man, you messed up your leg and you couldn't do a whole lot, and then the 3-man, we obviously didn't win that. But I don't think you and I have ever played together.
We've played one tournament in Toronto. Joust 2.0. Yeah.
Did you guys win? No.
So we were supposed to have Drew on the team, but Drew was sick or feeling well, so he fucked off. It was you, me, Justin, and then we had Doppelganger, Freight to Black.
Yeah, I know.
And then I think Matt filled for Yoda because Yoda had to leave.
Which was a bad team.
But the first team, the team who got first place was like Stu, Kyle,
Oh, wow.
Marine, it was some really
Dark
bizarre-
Ronan.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Oh
insane.
shit!
So, right. Who's the biggest cheater to ever have played the game? And why is it someone from Michigan?
That's a tough one. I mean, obviously 99 style.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he wears I think the guy wears it like a badge of honor. I think that James is actually, the funny thing about it is James is actually like a super cool guy.
Yes,
Like,
he is.
I actually really like that guy.
He's the nicest, yeah.
But I guess it would be him. There was a chord choir
Oh yeah.
that played for Mesa.
Mesa.
Yeah, way
That's
back.
cool.
He was brutal as well.
But the thing is,
Meteor was pretty fucking bad.
He was a god.
Hetfield.
ooh, aren't you playing with him tonight?
I am. I'm about to, man.
Watch it.
All right. I think my last question is who's your biggest Laser Quest role model and why is it Corwin?
So, okay. It's 100% Corwin.
Yeah.
I think that's a no-brainer. I don't know if you guys know the relationship that
Yeah,
Corwin and I have had, but I've known Corwin since 1995. So Corwin knew me when I was 10. And Corwin at that time, Corwin was probably, I'm not going to age him, so whatever. But Corwin was older than me at that point in time. So, but even though I'm younger than Corwin, I've literally watched Corwin grow up, his entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched him evolve from, into the guy that he was, and succeed in business, have a family,
Mhm.
Do all of these things. He's a role model for me, from
Outside
an
of
LQ
Quest.
standpoint, because I wanted to be him at laser tag because he was the best.
It's phenomenal.
But then I also wanted to become the person that Corwin is.
Yes.
And I think for myself personally, it wasn't until people are maybe starting to say or view that now, where I'm not this giant asshole and I'm actually this, this good person and stuff like
I
that.
think this podcast is going to go a long way into proving that too.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But Corwin is as a role model of mine in LQ because he was the first one that I wanted to be like, or the first one that I wanted to be better than.
Yes.
And then I just respect him so much as a person and so much as a man, for lack of a better term.
Fair enough.
It's interesting that you knew it was going to be Corwin, though.
Of course. Who
This
else, right?
podcast I completely forgot we're playing tonight. Actually.
Yeah, we gotta play.
Yeah,
in 2
we're
hours.
playing in a couple hours.
We have
This went
dinner.
So long.
We have dinner in an hour.
Oh my god.
So let's segment into that then. Any spicy predictions for tonight? What's going on tonight?
Ooh. What do you like the tournament?
Yeah.
Who's gonna win?
Who's gonna win?
Chicago.
Chicago wins.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
They beat Ohio.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think Chicago plays you guys in finals.
I think so.
Us? Who do we beat in some
I
eyes?
think you beat us.
And Ohio gets fourth.
I think Ohio gets one, or I don't know how it's gonna work out, but I think that Ohio's gonna play. Ohio will beat us.
Okay.
But I think that it's going to be you guys in Chicago. I just mark my words on this. I don't think you want to mess with Andy in Mississauga. Just
Yeah.
just
like
like I
some
said before,
days.
I remember
just-
Andy in Mississauga.
Yeah.
you know, I know he doesn't play as much as he used to, and he's older and stuff like that. But trust me,
Okay.
Oh, they still have Bones and Spam, right? There's no Mississauga like the
well,
back of their
Spam
pocket,
doesn't.
right?
Spam doesn't play really. So,
But he
Hey,
knows.
but Aaron-
he went to
Aaron-
the WLC. Doesn't play one WLC.
well, yeah, but he played leading up to WS.
Yes. Okay.
So
Yeah.
That's my prediction. They take first. You guys are in second.
Interesting. Okay. And Denver. Do you want to say anything about Denver? 'Cause obviously we don't have a team yet. Like Canada doesn't have a team yet.
I can tell you guys this to all three of you guys that are here right now. I'm going to be looking at this tournament pretty detailed.
So no new bashing is what you're saying?
Well, let's just say I've specifically asked for a copy of all of the
Where's Carter?
We
scorecards.
do know that.
Okay. All
We
right.
do know
Wow.
that.
Holy shit. How did you guys find that out?
We've
Yeah,
got a
we got
spies.
intel.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to be looking at a lot of stuff. On that. I want to see like teamwork and stuff like that. And obviously, it's not my decision alone. Justin and Corwin are going to be heavily involved in what we do for Denver. But the idea is to take the best team from Canada, or the GTA or the extended GTA, which I consider you guys, and go down there and prove to everybody that not only do we have the most active members base, but we have the best players. And France, come check us out, man. Come check us out.
It'd be super interesting to have him over.
I'll beat those kids into the ground.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we're running pretty late. Next
So-
time we have to go.
Last words.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say throughout?
No, it's been a lot of fun. It's been nice to sit down with you guys and do this.
Yep. I'm happy you came through and
Yeah.
everything worked
I
out.
mean, well, Alex and I had chatted about it a couple of times. Like, I remember when I was in Montreal, we were talking about it at that restaurant.
Yep.
So I'm really happy to see that you guys did it. You guys did an awesome job with the first one.
Thanks.
Just sitting down and talking about a tournament that's got 4 or 5 teams, good teams going to it and making, great content for it. I listened to it, on the way to work one morning, and it was awesome. I absolutely loved it. And anything that I can do, kind of at this point in time to try and improve the community or grow the community, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. It's been a lot of fun, man. It's been a lot of fun to sit back and to reminisce and and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's what it's all about.
About
We've
the
got
good
like
old days.
25 years now,
Oh, yeah.
20 odd years of
Yeah.
of memory.
Yeah.
And all that history has, if we discuss it, we kind of keep it alive, right?
And that's exactly it. Is there's so much, there's so much rich history. Like, I could talk for, this podcast probably could have gone for another 6 hours.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If we wanted to, because it's something that's been such a big part of, I think, all of our lives.
Yep.
That it's something that we're clearly passionate about too. So I just want to see LQ go in a positive direction where it's still active and people are still involved in it and stuff like that. And I realize that they're closing centers and they're doing all this stuff that makes people have a negative outlook on the game. And I can tell you, the direction that the company is going is probably a good one. Like, I'm sorry if your center closed, mine closed.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad, because 80 centers was too much. They're not closing LQ. They're just right sizing it. They're going to do what makes business sense.
Oh, franchising is gonna make a
and they're
from what we heard, right? From what we heard.
Excited to see what that's.
So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Teresa Stairs is the president of Versent or LaserQuest or whatever the corporation's name is. So Teresa was my neighbor growing up. She lived like 5 houses down.
Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah, so when she was the GM in Brampton and stuff like that, I knew her. She's going to do the right things for the company. She's going to take it in the right direction.
Happy to hear that.
She's going to do the right. She's brilliant, and she understands everything. So it's And even though centers are closing and stuff like that, for the first time in a long time,
There's light at
LQ
the
was
tunnel.
in like the right
Yeah.
hands.
Right.
You know.
All right. Well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, definitely.
Pleasure to be here. Man.
That was
Absolute
that was
pleasure.
super fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully, we get to do this a lot more. There's a couple of formats that we're toying with. Obviously, this is my favorite because we get to like sit down with a player and pick his brain about history. But there's a few things we're thinking about doing maybe before a tournament, like getting together, discussing, like doing kind of like a pre-show.
A great idea.
That'd be kind of fun. So
you should watch that tonight.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to do
Corin's
that.
actually going to do something.
Awesome.
If there's anything, hit us both. Okay, let us know how you
Yeah.
guys think. If you guys do want to come appear on the show or something, let us know. We'll try to figure it out.
Do you have the ability? Sorry to interject here, but do you have the ability to like Skype?
Yep, 100%.
Yes.
Oh man, that's
So we have to
awesome.
be on and on. So
That's
we're gonna
that's
do it.
awesome. So
We're
you
gonna
can
try
interview
to
like
maybe do a round table
anyone.
or something with
Oh.
people around. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be really fun.
dude, that is
so,
anytime you guys need me, man. Anytime you need
Sure.
me for anything,
Thanks.
I'm here. for
I'm
you
happy
guys.
we started something, a movement, right? So you can share it. He's actually going to make it so that public can see it, so that if there's people
Yeah, put it on
Googling
YouTube.
for Laser Quest, right? They
Nice.
see this, they're like, hey, these guys, who are they? And get a history down, right? So thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys,
See
for
you guys soon,
watching.
huh? Bye.
See ya.
Take care, host.